welcome. It's episode 2 of The Countdown. We are picking up where we left off from yesterday. My name is Jake, and of course, we've got the lovely Rob, Manic Monday here alongside me as well. We've got 30 minutes to bring you the pre-show for today's matches here for playoff day number 2. Rob, of course, yesterday, exciting. We had some matches. How are you feeling coming into today?
Look, I think after a little bit of a back and forth yesterday on the old countdown, I started to get somewhat a better insight as to what we might expect. I actually saw someone call us washed six casters. I don't know how I feel about that. I know that you're a multi-title expert extraordinaire, they call you. So
Who's they?
I don't know. Coming into today, I feel a little washed. I don't know. You know, there's something in the air. There's something that just doesn't click quite too well. But honestly, I don't want to jump ahead and jump into the show or anything like that. But there's one matchup tonight, and you know, I think that there's multiple storylines coming into this for both of those teams. We'll obviously get there when we get there, but I'm excited to kind of break down what we armchair experts expect to maybe happen.
Yeah, we're definitely not the actual experts. Those will be on after us, I guess. One of them will be at least.
They? Hang on. Will they?
I said one of them will be. Of course, for today's show, we've got the pick'ems, we've got the match of the Monday, which, lo and behold, we've only got the one match anyway, so you can guess which one that's going to be. Then we got episode 2 of Catch Up with Crush. Now, I've already had a bit of a sneak peek, and I think he's upped his game from episode 1. Hopefully, for his sake, he has for everyone else, because he did catch some stick yesterday. I'm joking. We loved his little breakdown analysis. And then we've got a new segment for today's show, Who Am I? Which that's going to be yourself and myself guessing one of the players, a little bit of Pokemon style as to who that VALORANT player is, Rob. Now, I know you probably won't guess it, right? So we've made it a little bit easy for you. There's some extra clues. That'll be fine. That'll be great. Now, of course, bringing it to today's matchup, or I guess today's main understanding of where we're going to be looking at the playoffs highlights to come shortly. We've only got the one match today, but yesterday, Rob, we had 2 games for the night. 2 best of 3s that played out, of course. One of them went the distance. The other one was a little bit of a snooze fest.
Yeah, I guess where do we want to start? That's the big question.
We'll go with the good one.
Start with the snooze
We'll go with the good one.
We'll start with the. It's always best to start on a good note. You always lead with good news first, and the good news is that Fun Crew put on an absolute showcase against Mindfreak. It did end up going the distance. Honestly, I think some of us. I feel like it was a little bit torn. It was a little bit torn when we were talking about it in the pre-show, but as we started to kind of console our own thoughts, I think. We were looking at Mindfreak saying, you know, we saw all the turmoil you went through in January. You know, you ended up being dropped by the Chiefs, or maybe not dropped, maybe it was a mutual thing. Regardless, Mindfreak came in, the organization picked them up, and it looked like they were going to be all guns blazing. However, Fun Crew stepping up to the mark when it mattered. Lou, of all players, boy, from the UK, went 81 and 40, 2 KD overall. Over 3 maps. It is absolutely nuclear. You'll see a lot of the highlights here. I really think, honestly, Xenox, Fun Crew have got my pick for the lower bracket. That's all I'm going to say.
Interesting. Yeah, that was a 13-4, 13-11, 13-10 game. Started hot for Fun Crew, and they finished hot. Of course, our second match, Bonkers, Honey Badgers. Maybe just a little bit less to talk about from this one. It was extremely one-sided. A 13-7 result on Bind for Bonkers got them off to a great start, and then they came home strong on Haven. 13-4, they made it a no contest against the team that took a map off of order only just a day earlier. That, for me, makes the result surprising. Now, later on, when we look at some of the pick'ems, which will be after this, you'll see some of the, talent predictions. Even the fan votes expected maybe Bonkers to do well. We both said Honey Badgers last night, and boy, were we wrong.
Yeah, we really got our asses handed to us, didn't we? There's no 2 ways to go about it. Look, when you're looking at these games in general, Bind kind of started out like very even. It was, I think it finished
7-5.
Like 5. Yeah, there you go, 7-5. That's exactly what we kind of started to unravel. Honey Badgers in the second half, just absolute dead in water after the first 2 rounds. And then you go on to Haven. I mean, I'm not going to break it down as if I'm an expert or anything, but my God, Bonkers put on an absolute display. They ended up playing Bonkers as well. I mean, it's a really tough thing to talk about from my perspective after what we saw from Honey Badgers against Order, where we really saw them shine. Obviously, the last 2 maps, they kind of fell off a little bit. Is that like Honey Badgers? I feel like the discussion about them kind of drops off a little bit now.
Yeah, I mean, it was an 11-1 half on that Haven matchup in favor of Bonkers. So, yeah, they most definitely did go Bonkers to start that off and sort of follow up the work that they had on Bind. So, ultimately, disappointing, I think, for Honey Badgers. Maybe they weren't the outright massive favorites. We definitely didn't pen them up to be yesterday. No way at all. No. But I think when you take a map off of Order, you do have some level of expectations. And I think they definitely did not quite meet them last night in that result. But full credit to Bonkers. Obviously, they played amazing. Now, of course, for those watching, if you want to get your thoughts, you can tweet at us as well, at LPL_Valorant, and use the hashtag VOT Countdown, and you can let your thoughts be known to us. We'll read them out. We'll have a bit of a gander and adds to the discussion. In fact, perfect timing with one of the tweets that have already been brought out. It's Order getting involved. Of course, they've got victory in their sights tonight, so we'll see if, of course, they can find victory later on. But Rob, bringing it back to sort of close out our matchups from yesterday in the end. Yep. I did say yesterday, 2-1 scoreline, Fun Crew, Mind Freak. I was right on that. I didn't pick the winner. I was maybe thinking Mind Freak, but Fun Crew too good. Bonkers 2-0 in the end, too good as well. And I guess now what that actually does mean, of course, Fun Crew, Bonkers are going to be playing each other. That sets up a bit of a tantalizing prospect for tomorrow.
There it is, the T word, tantalizing. It came out, Xenox. I was going to wonder how long are we going to go before the tantalizing beef comes out from you. But look, it does mean now that we only have 4 teams left in our bracket, which, I mean, it's crazy to think how quickly, these kind of bigger tournaments just start to dwindle down. Fun Crew, Bonkers, Iconic, and Order is all we have left. So overall, I think, I am backing Fun Crew for this lower bracket run. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I don't know. I think yesterday's games really does start to set that tone, that storyline for those kind of low bracket runs. But yeah, anyway, we'll leave that in the air, and I'll hand the conversation back to you, Xenox, if you will.
We can probably wrap that conversation up for the meantime, and let's go and have a look at yesterday's pick'ems from our illustrious talent in Kevin Walker and Mr. Pilski himself. Now, they, of course, had 2 matches that they had to pick, the first one being Mind Freak and Fun Crew. They both went for Mind Freak. Can you believe it? They're both wrong.
That just doesn't surprise me at all because, it really takes a kind of big brain armchair expert to understand that Fun Crew was the better of the 2 teams, knowing going into that that there was just this expectation that Fun Crew, just with the Panda logo, was going to be enough to get them by. Never mind any kind of expert analysis or opinions because that really doesn't matter here. I'm disappointed in Avril, the self-proclaimed expert, the 5-head of the Valorant scene. That's just not good enough.
No, it's not. And for punishment, they're going to have him hosting tonight. That's punishment well and truly deserved. Pilski also got it wrong. But for Pilly, he was able to at least redeem himself. If we have a look at the pick'ems, of course, from the second matchup, that being Bonkers and Honey Badgers. Pilly went for Bonkers. Kevin, Avril Walker, Honey Badgers. Although there is a little story behind this one. Avril, being the illustrious talent that he is, apparently didn't have time to put in his pick'ems, and he gave the option to Pilly, and Pilly gave him Honey Badgers, and Avril therefore is wrong. But that's what you get when you don't do the job on time. And the fans were also right in this occasion, 52% gone for Bonkers, and they were right in the end. It was, I guess, a close affair in terms of the pick'ems, just was not a close affair in terms of the game.
Yeah, 52%. That, I mean, when you look at the scoreline and you look at how quickly Bonkers kind of ran over them, a snooze fest as we're calling it, 52% does not seem convincingly enough from the audience, from the fans at home. But yeah, look, I've just got to dive in here on Avril, mate. You can't be considered the top tier caster and analyst that you are, the big brain, the kind of the titan in our scene, and go and just allow someone to take your pick'ems. It just doesn't work like that. Pilly is a known little assassin. This boy, I tell you, Pilly, he seems innocent, he seems dry, but he's anything but. He's always waiting around the corner to just, stick a foot out as you're going past him. No, look, I love Pilly. All honesty, is a good bloke. But, Avril, come on. expect a little more from you. A bit more professionalism, as we like to say, Xenox.
Well, at least Billy got his one right, and the fans got their one right as well. Bonkers, of course, way too good for Honey Badgers. I will say, if this was close, I think tomorrow's pick'ems as well will be very, very close for Fun Crew and Bonkers. That matchup's very difficult, I think, to pick. Of course, that's a discussion for yet another day. But very quickly now, Rob, before we do get to the match of the Monday, which I think is not going to surprise many, considering we've only got the one best of 3 today. We should actually have a quick little look at the bracket before we get to this match of the day and see kind of how things have unraveled, because you touched on the fact we only have 4 teams remaining, and there they are. Order and Iconic, of course, to come later tonight, and then Fun Crew and Bonkers at least being able to now make it to the 3rd round of the lower bracket.
Yeah, and I guess our entire attention after tonight turns on to, you know, who is going to be the 2 teams that we have on Sunday. Now, in all honesty, Order, tick. And then we've got 3 teams left. Now, I mean, look, to be honest, we all know that Order are, you know, heads and shoulders above the competition at the moment. They come up against Iconic tonight. That's going to be an interesting one. We'll talk about that in a bit more. But where it gets interesting, and I think you made a really good point, is down in that lower bracket. Fun Crew and Bonkers. I know, shockingly, actually. Fun Crew and Bonkers. That's where things get a little bit more dicey, a little bit more, you know, how's your mother, how's your father going kind of thing. And then when we see Iconic drop into that lower bracket, because it's going to be inevitable at this point, things do get spicy. You've got 3 teams equally competitive, equally willing to take that fight back up to Order when we get to that grand final on Sunday. But we're a fair while away from then, Xenox, so I don't want to jump the gun too far.
Are you basically just saying you roll 3 of them in a bag and then you pick one out, and that's going to be who's playing Order? Is that where you're going at with this?
Oh, no, I'm telling you right now, the lower bracket run is coming from Fun Crew. But as a caster, as an expert analyst here, I do have to give everyone the benefit of the doubt and say there is an opportunity for others to maybe break through.
Right. Well, we've got now an opportunity to go to my favorite segment, which is the match of the Monday.
Terrible.
Which in this instance, of course, we've only got the one match, as I've already prefaced many, many times over. It is indeed our upper bracket final tonight, Order and Iconic. No surprise with this decision, Rob. Even you couldn't mess this one up.
No, it's not possible. It doesn't make a difference where you look at it. It's actually not possible to mess up the match of the Monday. That's because there's only one damn match being played tonight. It's Order, and it is Iconic. They're going head-to-head. Probably break down Order first and start to talk about what they have really achieved. I guess, yes, in this tournament, but probably more widely speaking. I mean, this team has really been putting on a clinic, and again, we've talked about it yesterday. We'll talk about it today, probably again tomorrow, and then on Sunday, which will be broken record by then. But this roster, this team have just been phenomenal over the last 8 months. They haven't lost a single game since September of last year. Actually, no, I think it might have even been... No, it was further. They haven't played a game since September of last year until this tournament came around. They haven't lost since June of last year. So really starts to give you a clear picture as to what we're expecting here. Left to right, you've got unbelievable players covering the board. I think I remember when Maple joined the roster, there was a massive buzz around the fact that this pretty much completed what is now a powerhouse of the region. You've also got Dick Stacy, the big old Dick, up the top, helping on the coaching staff. But when you start to break down the stats, that's when things get kind of scary. They've lost one map, which was against Honey Badgers. And look, even then, you could probably have made the argument it might have just been Order getting a little bit too comfortable. But I also heard Avril say, and this is green room behind the scenes kind of conversation, that the talent are starting to think that Order are slipping a little bit on blind. Oh, I'm blind to what's in front of my eyes. But apparently blind is starting to become a little bit of a weak spot for Order. So look, take that what you will. They ended up losing 13-8 to it against Honey Badgers just last week now. I can't even remember what day it was. But
I think at any point that you're a team that's not dropped maps for that long, losing just one map, then is that now all of a sudden a map that they're weak on? I don't know. It's one map. It's one game. Very quickly, we had the Icebox statistic there. You could see the 100% win rate.
100%.
They, of course, after that said bind loss, they went to their very favorable Icebox 13-3. Destroying Honey Badgers. So kind of alludes as to why they like that one so much. Now, I don't know. Are we
Yes.
seeing their opponents for tonight for this match on the Monday?
No.
Surely.
No,
Let's
no,
get
no,
them
it's no
up.
point.
It's
There's no point.
iconic. They are iconic in this instance. 14-9 is their record, and obviously Ascent is going to be their most picked map. Why? Well, they got 100% Ascent win rate. That is why.
Yeah, that's pretty damn large. I mean, when you're talking about Order, you talk about Icebox. It goes hand in hand just because they're so dominant. However, when you start to look at Iconic, the fact that they've got 100% win rate on Ascent is quite large, quite outrageous. 70% on the attack as well, or nearabouts, is pretty dirty. Now, one thing that we were talking about, again, I like to preface the green room because this is where I get all of my information from. I just get all of it. All right, Punda has gone from bench warmer to warming our hearts. This man stepping up into the roster has become a hallmark of Iconic and has rounded out, like I was saying with Order all those many, many moons ago, it is starting to round out Iconic and what they are starting to achieve. Got to remember, they have not lost a game in 3 best of 3s. They are looking incredibly good coming into this upper bracket match against Order. I'm excited to see what they do because honestly, these are the storylines we love to go with, Xenox. It's the underdog. It's the story of those that the David to the Goliath definitely being Order in this scenario, and there is plenty to dissect, which fortunately enough isn't my job, and no one wants to listen to my opinion anyway. But I do know that this could be a little bit of a tantalizing match, if you know what I mean.
Well, you would hope so, wouldn't you, right? You kind of want to see Order get pushed to the limit. What better position to do that than the upper bracket final for Iconic? Yes, we saw Honey Badger just take a map off of Order, and then, lo and behold, they kind of bombed out in that lower bracket round. Oh, that's a segment for later. That was a little teaser. Little teaser there for a second. But yeah, obviously, Iconic are in a position now where they get a bit of a free shot, right? Because if you lose this, you go down to the lower bracket final. You're not out of it yet. So this is an opportunity where they're playing with house money, essentially. They get that crack at Order where they know that there's not going to be any issues if they lose it here. Now, if they win, though, if they can pull off the miraculous and somehow find victory against Order, they will get tomorrow off. That's the big thing. That's the reward you basically get for winning this upper bracket final. You straight up don't have to play tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's something we've talked about multiple times before, which, you know, that break, essentially, not only does it allow you that time to breathe and kind of run back over what's going on, but it allows you to sit there and watch what is happening, what is unfolding on your screens, allows you to do a little bit more of that VOD reviewing and kind of set yourself up for what could be a knockout of the park. I like to say you set your bases, you hit the home run, and all of a sudden you've got 4 on the board. Now, that's one of the conversations that we will start to kind of come back to for the winner of this. I really, I struggle to see going past Order. I don't want to sound like a broken record there, but you just look at any of their statistics across any of their players. Essentially, they're topping the leaderboard in nearly any department you want to go to. Yep. And I think when you do have the kind of... I spoke about this yesterday, but when you do come into a fresh title like Valorant last year or the year before even... Actually, was it even the year before that? Trying to think back. 2020 is when we kickstarted our proceedings as actual broadcastings, but I feel like it was early 2020 when the title actually kind of came to the forefront. When you have players from another game that have been successful over and over again in their respected titles, and then they transition, not only do they bring that wealth of knowledge, but they also bring that kind of the mechanical skills that can be, I'm not going to say easily transferred over, but I mean, you look at all of the big teams around the world, they have players that have been popping up over the last 5 to 10 years in other titles. And I think that this is what makes this roster so damn successful. I hate to back into that, but when you've got the likes of Texter and Tux that have been together for multiple years, they've been to the IEM Sydneys, they've been to pretty much every big stage that there is in that title. They come into this, they double down, they back in, and they've got that synergy that just... I mean, we've talked about it in the past. Synergy on a team really builds champions. You know, it's a champion team versus a team of champions. It feels like Order are kind of peaking at that champion team position. But we've touched on it, and it's all about their tournament to lose. So it does kind of set up what could be a little bit of a home run for Iconic. It could always be that underdog story. So, I mean, yeah, make of what I've just said what you will. but I'm backing him in. There's no chance. There's no
All right.
chance for anyone here.
Awesome. Gonna have to cut you off short there. Thank you for the catch up with
don't.
Manic. Now we'll go to someone who actually knows what they're talking about. Let's have that catch up with Crash.
Hey guys, it's Crash, and welcome to the second episode of Catch Up with Crash, the show where we showcase some cool rounds and strats from VOT and break them down for your viewing pleasure. This time, we're going to be looking at a group stage match of Bonkers up against Order, in which Bonkers pulled out a great bonus round on Haven that shocked Order and set their economy up for success. To start things off here, Bonkers have a really heavy A lane over here. They bring 4 players and leave RDW by himself to set up his Killjoy utility on the other side of the map. The whole idea of this is just to take long control and take Sua's control with a fault line and a guiding light respectively, and NiceHax walks up into the space that's been created, Trailblazer gets used towards short, and this forces all the Order players off the line, and now every single one of the Bonkers players are getting into position for this execute. Order can't do anything here besides just sit back and wait. There's no real way they can take much initiative unless they bring the Breach of Disco all the way over to the A side to set Autumn or Maple up for success here. But since that's not happening, they kind of just need to sit down and wait, and this is really good from Bonkers. They're cutting noise, making sure Order has no info. Maple needs to wait for his dart, and there's no real other way that they can actively get info. Now this is really, really cool. The fault line gets used in conjunction with the Astrogravity well to completely stun the player back side and force Autumn into such an awkward angle. Maple also gets hit by the fault line back side, so that's a really easy kill for NiceHax. And what happens as well is the Aftershock comes out from Minimize and catches Autumn trying to look to trade Maple, and now they've taken the site for free and Order have no response. They're in a 3v5 retake, and at this point they've managed to upgrade 2 rifles alongside holding the 3 other guns they have, and now they've just completely set their economy up for success for the rest of the half. And that's just a great set play to come out from Bonkers. Order were not expecting that.
Well, Crash may not have been expecting that, but I was expecting good things from him, and he delivers here for episode 2 of Catch Up with Crash. Rob, if you had to give it a star rating out of 5, how many stars are you giving Crash for that breakdown?
Oh, look, I'll give it a 4. There's still room for improvement. However, I will say on the execution of it, on the editing side of things, 5 stars. Primo, very nice. I can't shit talk him today. There's no word of a lie. He's done well.
He's done well.
I can't. There's no way that this time. Last time he went for a 3 versus 5 in favor of the team that he was. Sorry, in favor of the team that he was talking against. This time he's gone with it, and I'm a numbers man, Jake, and that ticks all the boxes for me. But no, again, fantastic catch up with Crash. He's got a lot of insight on a fair bit of the information that we do start to talk about. I'm grateful that we have that segment because it brings in some sort of expert opinion that actually has some substance to it here.
Yeah, look, armchair experts are fun to have a laugh at and, feel like their opinions are wrong. And then you get the experts and their opinions, well, hopefully are generally quite correct and accurate. For Crash's sake, in this instance, picking up a match there from Bonkers and Order from the group stage there, which was a good little breakdown. We move forward, though. Now, we do have a new segment coming up here, and I'm going to bring it out a little early. And the reason why is because I think we may take some time with this one, Rob, because I don't trust you at all. It's who am I? It's a little bit of a guessing game as to who this player is, Pokemon style. If you're too young to understand what the reference is, well, we'll bring it through the screen for you right now. Let's get the picture up. Let's get the graphic up. Of course, this is Who Am I. We have the silhouette, but we don't have the player's face. We've got 3 little hints, though, and these 3 little hints are specifically for you, Rob. This player is, of course, playing on one of the teams tonight. Also, was recently injured and likes to have, when the camera is on, likes to hide away from said camera behind their monitor. Now, Rob, of course, you are no Valorant extraordinaire. You're not an expert. We know this. But have you got any idea as to who this is?
Look, it's a process of elimination here, okay? So you look to the side of Order, okay? Because funnily enough, there's only 2 teams playing tonight. You look to the side of Order, right? They've got, I'm not going to lie, they've got some pretty fit-looking gents there. They've got some muscly boys. Tux has dropped a whole bunch of weight, so he's looking pretty trim, taut, and terrific. Yep. So I'm going to take Tux off the list. Yeah, go, shoot for it.
Along, of course, try and get involved here as well, whether it's in Twitch chat or let us know on Twitter at @LP_Valorant. Use the hashtag VOT countdown. Let us know maybe who you think it might be. We might give you a minute or 2, maybe 3, because it might take Rob some time. But who are you taking off the list here now, though? Who do you think it's not?
So, all right, we got Tux off the list. So
Okay.
that's 9 out of 10 players left. I'm going to go and take Texter off the list immediately. Again, I don't think he's the kind of player to get injuries. And we have seen him streaming in the past, so I don't think he hides behind his monitor. All right, so that's all 3 ticked off that aren't really going to be a concern to me.
Okay.
Going down the list, look, Panic. He's a bit of an older bloke now. He's getting on in his years. It could be perceived that he could technically cop an injury at this point in his playing career. Now,
he's pulled
we're
his back.
going to slow it down though, because he's the thing with Panic is he may be old, but he's not shy of the camera. So there's Panic taken off the list. So we've got 3 players that are gone now. Punda, honestly, with that main that he has, there's no way that an alpha like him gets injured, and there's no way that he would be standing up in this position. So it's got to be someone who's shy.
Does it hurt you to know that I know the answer?
It's going to hurt me a lot, isn't it? This is really going to dig me deep. So, all right, we've got 4 players off. There's 6 to go. Look, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a stab in the dark.
Oh no, this can't go
Now
well.
I haven't been looking at the Twitter sphere, which is a terrible mistake by me because I'm sure I could have gone and done the research and found out.
Well, we got a
who
little
was the
delay. We got a
injured
tiny delay,
player.
mate. Come on.
I mean, I could sit here and do. I mean,
You can
know
just
what
sit
I'm
here
like.
for the
I
next
could
3
definitely sit
minutes, and
here.
then the answers will start rolling through the Twitch chat, and they'll be start coming in on the Twitter. But what have we got? 3.5 minutes until show. So you need to get an answer out now. Come on. Who do you think it is?
It's not Mike. It's not gonna be Swirl. So I'm gonna lean to order here. I'm gonna lean to order.
Oh,
No? Yeah?
I don't know. You tell me.
I'm gonna go with Autumn. It's gotta be Autumn, right?
Oh, okay. I'm
No,
gonna.
you're not excited.
Oh, should I be excited? I already know who it is, so I'm not even going to bother. Let's get the picture out. I believe it's Disco from Order, and I've said it pretty comfortably and happily here. If it's not, I'm going to look a little bit silly. Let's go and see who it is. It is indeed Disco. It's
No!
himself. You can't mistake that hair anywhere. Come on, Rob. You got to do better than that one. Just quickly on Disco, we've got a little bit of time here. Not too much, though. Of course, a player that has been playing so well recently for Order. But let's be real, Rob. Who hasn't been?
You can't pick to anyone. You literally can't put your finger on anyone on Order's team and say you've not been playing well enough. Look, I'm really disappointed it wasn't Autumn. I had a great process of elimination there, and we did get it close.
It was great.
Honestly, could have just done a little bit of research there, and I think I would have been able to find it and lead us all down that dark path as to who has been injured, who hides behind the monitor. But I'll tell you what, he may hide behind the monitor, but boy, does he pop off. He's got the highest KD rating out of any of the players in this tournament. Period. Doesn't make a difference whether we look back to the open qualifiers. We're talking about the actual main event now. He is currently sitting at 1.44 KD and sits up there quite nicely. I really don't think that you can fault a bloke like Disco. So hey, I don't know what the injury is, but I'd have to say it's got to be wrist related with all those flicks. You know what I'm talking about?
Apparently, it's foot related. So fortunately, in Valorant, he don't need that foot anyway. But what we do need to do quickly is go through our TLDR. Rob, you're going to be taking us through it tonight. Where's that clock? Get that stopwatch up. We've got 60 seconds for you to give everyone a bit of a breakdown as to what we went through on tonight's show. There it is. There it is. Can we get a little countdown? 3, 2, 1, off you go.
All right, we kick off the countdown all the way back at the highlights. We broke down what happened yesterday. We showcased a perfect best of 3, 2-1 in favor of Fun Crew. As if it was ever a question, we moved on. There was a bit of umming and ahhing. The audience weren't quite sure who it was going to be. Was it Honey Badgers? Was it Bonkers? I tell you what, it was never in doubt. Bonkers absolutely slapped them out of the server. They've gone through to that lower bracket final. Well, semi-final technically. They're going to be fighting their way against Fun Crew, who will be making it toward the end. We then went on to the pick'ems where Avril just absolutely did everyone dirty. He left it up to the gods, and the gods absolutely murdered him. I couldn't get that word out. Then we went on to the Monday, and I tell you what, it's going to be an absolute banging day on Friday. Order and Iconic take on each other in less than 30 seconds. We then move on to what was Crash. He had an incredible job, but it was who am I? I am Rob, but it was
That was so great. You even froze up there for a
I
split
did.
second. Well done, Rob. You got through the TLDR. We got through episode 2 here for the countdown. Thank you, one, for watching, for tuning in. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. The main show here for the playoffs is starting in about 5 seconds' time. Kevin Averill-Walker and myself will be taking you through the games. We've got a big one. It's Order, and we've also got Iconic.
We're in the playoffs. It's going to be a damn fun time here. We've got some big games coming up. And look, they're not only playing for money, they're playing to make it to the APAC Masters.
So last week we versed Iconic, got 0-2'd, but we're looking to bounce back, keep the momentum going after beating Grimace.
God, what is that shot?
I think after losing the Order, we were a little bit heartbroken just because to kind of get to that grand final spot is a lot harder.
He's in such an awkward spot.
Order.
But yeah, you're exactly right. That focus. Thank you, Crash, for taking us this way. Texter, come on, mate. It was just so easy.
Iconic.
Take a toll of your economy in the long run.
No way, Paddy!
Fun Crew.
That's got to be Dragon. It's an opportunity.
No! Oh my God!
Bonkers.
So this week we're looking to run the gauntlet and we're going to send everyone home.
Single camera. Oh, what is this? That's the biggest net I've ever seen. Four on the pink shelf.
Payne picks up 1, 2, 3. Beautiful stuff here coming out from Payne.
They'll know exactly that there's a player you're potentially trying to come up with a second play. No! Oh my God!
The Viper's pin does get pulled on out. Clutchy dispatches of Easy, and there's another entry point.
Even with all the Viper units still down here from RDW, Bunda!
They do gather the information, and Myth has actually moved around onto the other side of this poison cloud. It's great on the whole. Another picked up by Myth. A third! A shooting! Oh my word!
Welcome to VOT Stage 1 playoffs here with Averill and with Jake. Welcome, mate. You just got off the pre-show.
Hey,
that was lots of fun. I can't believe you guys didn't know it was disco. Like I figured out straight away from the hair. Did you get it?
I got it. Of course I got it.
Oh, well done. You got it.
I knew it. Yeah.
No shot for Rob, though. No shot for Rob and Lucky.
No.
Hide behind a camera, mate. You haven't seen Disco do one of these. He's only got his eyes viewable and that's it, but he's still looking at the screen. Man, how you been doing, man? Welcome to the cast. Welcome to the show. You've done the pre-show, now you're doing the show, and we'll get you the post-show later as well.
Yeah, mate. They just keep racking the shows up for me to do. No, it's good. It's good to be back. It's been a little while since I've done the old VALORANT. I think it was about a year and a half ago. I can't even remember. It's been too long. But hey, it's good to be working with you again, mate. It's always a pleasure. You are the extraordinaire. You are the illustrious Kevin Averill-Walker. I'm excited.
That's the title I have to try and live up to. All right, if you just joined playoffs here, you're not too sure what's going on, take a look at this.
Welcome to the 2022 VALORANT Oceania Tour, a year-long tournament circuit where the best players from Oceania battle it out for cash prizes, a place at the APAC playoffs with a chance to qualify for VALORANT Masters, and a shot at the global title. Teams can compete in up to 2 stages, consisting of open qualifiers, a regional group stage, and playoffs, each with their own AUD $25,000 prize pool. By placing high enough, they'll accumulate championship points to be one of the top teams fighting for a shot at the OCE Championship and a $30,000 prize pool. Those top teams go on to the APAC Last Chance qualifier, with the winning team invited to the VALORANT Champions, where the world's greatest compete to be named 2022's Global Champions, winning an as-yet undisclosed prize pool and true gaming glory. For more information, head to LetsPlay.Live /2022 VOT.
So there it is. That is the format, and of course, what we're really playing for is qualification into APAC playoffs. The top team from this VOT stage is going to go represent us in APAC and maybe even further into Masters.
Yeah, and I think it's really good for the region. It was something we touched on actually on the VOT countdown yesterday about APAC coming into the region and being what is essentially a bit of a safe haven, bit of a reboot, so much better than that NA pathway that we had last year. So I'm looking forward to it. It's APAC has been something that has developed over the last 3 to 4 years in a lot of different titles, and I'm so glad for it to come to VALORANT.
Alrighty, well, with that as well, you know, teams are also playing for a pretty large prize pool, 25k across the board, of which 5k is already gone. So 8, 7, 6, 5th, they're all done. You know, we've eliminated 4 teams. We're in the business end now, Jake. Top 4 only And I mean, in terms of business end, there's still 20k up for grabs just in the top 4.
Yeah, you actually asked me. We went through this obviously in the green room, and I got it wrong. I said 19k, so I'm outing myself there a little bit. But yeah, 20k still remaining for the final 4 teams, which that in itself, right? You know, and we touched on it on the countdown. There's only 4 teams remaining now. That is at least something that they can all take home from this point. The fact that they've gotten this far in the tournament, they've got that banked up. From here, at least, yeah, obviously you'd like to win the whole thing and you'd like to take down Order, etc. But at least there's already something there in the back pocket.
Yeah, it's still a while to take down Order. I mean, we'll get to that in a minute here, but looking over yesterday's games, we had to eliminate 2 more teams from our playoffs as well. So started out things with the matchup with Fun Crew and Mind Freak. And I think Pilsky and I weren't too sure if this one was going to be the match of the day. We probably all thought unanimously it was going to be the match afterwards. But this one ended up being super impressive. Fun Crew came out of nowhere and dominated.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you had to watch the VOT countdown, it was the match of the Monday, Fun Crew and Mind Freak. I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to go 2-1. I didn't predict who was going to win it, but I did say it would go the distance, and lo and behold, it definitely did. And look, honestly, this was probably the kind of series where either team could have walked away as the winner. When you look at those kind of scorelines, 13-11, 13-10, at that point, it does come down to those little round differentials where just that one couple of little shots here or there, finding that opening pick or being able to open up a site a little bit easier than you would like. I mean, just look at that from RDW, for example. Those kind of rounds, winning those pistol rounds, that ends up being the difference maker.
And you look at now Bonkers versus Honey Badgers. You mentioned RDW already, but you know it starts out with like an RDW ace into a 4K, and it doesn't really end from there. This ended up being the more one-sided series of the day, when I think we all expected, perhaps. I mean, maybe I don't know about the pre-show, but certainly Pilsky and I expected that this one was going to be the match of the day in terms of how close it should be between Bonkers and Honey Badgers. It ends up just being Bonkers just smashing their way through, and Honey Badgers didn't really have a response, no reply at all.
Yeah, this one I actually thought I had Honey Badgers. I'm not even going to hide it. Yeah, maybe I'm off the mark, and obviously I'm not as well in tuned with the scene, but I just think the fact that they were able to do a pretty decent job against Order, right? Taking the map pick of Bind away from them. And yeah, okay, Icebox, the set was kind of one-sided, but still somewhat of a decent effort. You thought maybe they would be able to take some momentum from that, apply it against Bonkers, but no, not at all. Bonkers way too good in the end. 13-7, 13-4 on Haven, and in that Haven match, an 11-1 first half overall. That is something you probably would not expect to see this late into the playoffs, and yet it happened anyway.
That's like a scrim or ranked kind of, you know, scoreline there. It's very rare. You don't see that happen very often, if at all. Like a team has to be completely on a separate level for that kind of result to happen. So that will have now, as a result, you can see in the lower bracket, Fun Crew and Bonkers moving forward. We won't be covering them tonight. That we're going to have to save for another day. Today, looking at upper bracket, baby. Order versus Iconic. It's been, you know, a little bit since we've revisited Order. You know, those upper bracket games, took a bit of a break from them. Go through the lower bracket, see who gets eliminated first. So today it will be only Order versus Iconic, but for high stakes, Jake, because the winner goes to the grand final.
Yeah, high stakes, obviously, I think, for the winner, and not as much low stakes for the loser, because they're not out of it. They just go down to the lower bracket final, which will be tomorrow. But that in itself is, I guess, the reward for winning this particular matchup today. You just straight up don't have to play tomorrow. You get to avoid that best of 3. You get to then play, obviously, on Championship Sunday, and then, obviously, it gives you more time to prepare for your opponent as well as to who you're going to be playing against, and more footage as well, for that matter. If you do win tonight, you can sit back, watch your opponents tomorrow, for example.
Let's go ahead and meet our high-seeded team, the fan favorites, and probably our regional favorites as well, to no one's surprise. I mean, Order have been smashing their way through, undefeated for nearly a year now. Went through this with Pilsky, but the last time they lost was stage 2 of last year in like April or something. Like, when I say loss, I mean like lose an entire series of maps. They lost the map to Honey Badgers, but they're still here.
Yeah, you don't take too much into it, right? Obviously, a team of this caliber, and yes, when you do go onto that kind of streak where you're not dropping maps, for instance, yeah, it's going to be a big thing. When you think about it in terms of the actual reality of it, it's only one map, and it was a 13-8, and yeah, maybe Honey Badgers, maybe that was the best map that they were going to be able to produce, because it's not like they could back it up either.
That was the highlight of Honey Badger's playoffs run for sure, and the highlight for Order's playoffs still yet to come. I think that would be pretty accurate to say. So expecting big things from Order, pretty standard stuff. They are the team to beat currently, and there's been a few teams have some close calls. We've yet to see somebody actually take them down like wildcard of last year, so we'll have to find out who that next team is. Maybe it's going to be Iconic, so take a look at their team as well. They've been really making some big waves through their playoffs bracket. You know, some would say almost an upset win in that first round as well when they came up and 2-0'd Bonkers, who, as we saw yesterday, had a great series versus Honey Badgers. Bonkers, not a team to be underestimating at all. Iconic in front of that, and Iconic have only gone from, strength to strength.
Yeah, and that was one thing I wanted to bring up with Iconic is their playoff run. When you actually look at it on paper now, it's actually not, it hasn't been an easy one. They had to play Bonkers, then they had to take on Fun Crew, both teams as of which are obviously still alive in the lower bracket. So for Iconic, once they play Order tonight, they will have played every single team that is still remaining, all final of the 4 teams. That says a lot for them. When you look at Order on the flip side, they beat Meow Meow, then Meow Meow lost immediately in the lower bracket, and then the same can be said for Honey Badgers. So I think for Iconic right now, the biggest thing is they are still the David. They are still most definitely the team that no one's going to really expect to win, but that's fine. It's fine to be the underdog, have little to no expectations. You're playing with house money. Let's see what they've got. Try and take it up to Order. This is a good early opportunity. It's not the grand final, so you don't have that stress either. Go hard and give them everything you've got.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'd love to get that ticket into the grand finals, but they have to fight for that. I was going to say free ticket. Mate, there's nothing free about it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the featured matchup for this evening as well. Texter and Panic. And if you look at this on paper, you're like, man, this is just like us doing Panic dirty a little bit, because stats-wise, Texter's dominating here. But I think the reason to look at this is you have the 2 IGLs from the separate teams. Very similar roles here, playing smokes as well. Texas really come into his own, but really he's been kind of this heavy fragging support IGL on his smokes this entire time. Panic's had some really good moments as well in this playoffs and groups, so he's really had his leadership show leading this Iconic team. Very young members, like Swill's still quite young, and leading them to a lot of success, and still having the veterancy to pull through some clutch moments, some high pressure moments as well. So stats wise, it doesn't match up, but I think, very experienced player coming through from Panic, and 2 roles, the support role that right now I think Texter does dominate, at least stat wise, but I think 2 highlighted players that IGLs, you can't overlook that position.
Yeah, and I'm obviously not going to beat around the bush and say that I know Panic and Texter all that well. I'm not all that familiar, obviously, with Valorant in recent times. But what I will say is it says a lot about Order. And for Texter, you're still putting up those numbers on such an established team, on such a dominant team as well, that you are essentially a player that's able to stand out on what is a very, very good team. That then says a lot about you as well as a player. And as for Panic, I mean, I think you've maybe done a little bit dirty there overall. But hey, he is a player that obviously has that experience. He can get it done on the big stage, and he won't be frightened by this kind of matchup against a team like Order.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that Panic has had plenty of experience playing against the caliber of players and team that Order is. And speaking of Order, we had an opportunity to catch up with Tux, so let's go ahead and see what he had to say.
Yeah, feeling really good. And we've had a pretty good week of practice, pretty productive. And I mean, Iconic, they've had a few upsets. Honestly, didn't really expect them to get into the upper bracket final. So, they have good players on their team, or like players that can hit shots. So I guess anything could happen. But, when it comes to team versus team, we're probably more prepared.
They've missed it, and his position known. 1 bullet will do it. There it is. Texter with the triple.
So as long as we sort of go in and play our way, there shouldn't be too much that they can do about it, hopefully.
Fulvus does get spotted, but now it's going to be that aggression in Maple. Love to see it.
For me personally, I reckon Bonkers will probably make it. But I think they've been getting better as the tournament's gone on. Last night's game they played against Honey Badgers, they played really well. They seemed like they had a lot of good structure to their game, a few good plays to make, and individually they're pretty good as a team. Like, they're pretty good. But honestly, again, you never know. Like, in Valorant, anything can kind of happen, and especially in our region where a lot of the teams below us are all really close, and I don't think anyone can beat anyone. So it kind of just depends on the night, which is what happened last time with Iconic and Bonkers. What can you expect? I don't know, hopefully the same old. Hopefully a win. We've been practicing a lot and putting in a lot of work, and hopefully it just shows in the grand final. I expect, the other teams, they'd be watching us, and they've played against us as well. Like, it doesn't matter who it will be. I think anyone that's in the grand final has already played against us in the tournament, so they might be able to make some adjustments when we play them. And in a best of 5, sort of, you can maybe get a map that you're not as comfortable on initially if they pick it. So
I mean, I think, they have a good reason to be confident here. Always good to hear from Tux as well. Very
He's looking good.
Absolutely. Like Rob said in the pre-show there as well. All the fellas are looking sharp right now. They're looking ready to win. Iconic, though, will be really interesting competition.
Yeah, obviously he made the comment about the fact that he thinks, he's a little surprised that they've made it this far. I do want your thoughts on that, though. Are you as surprised as Tux is for Iconic making it to the upper bracket final? Obviously, big result against Bonkers, and then they were able to find that 2-1 victory as well recently. But I don't know, the way they've been playing, it's hard for me to sit back and be surprised.
I'm only surprised in the fact that I didn't have like any high expectations for Iconic coming in. I knew they were a decent team, but most of the most fans and most of other people out there would have probably have said that Bonkers were the more hyped up team in terms of expectations and history to make it further and to be in this position. If I was in Order's shoes, I imagine they probably think that they would have been going up against Bonkers at this stage in the upper final instead, but they'll be going up against Iconic instead, and Iconic already beat Bonkers pretty handedly, so Iconic right now do look like that next best team after Order, and perhaps in this particular matchup we'll be able to prove it as, we head into vetoes now, Jake. Take a look at where the direction of the bans and picks are going to go.
I did my little best in the green room to have a bit of a stab at this one, and I think so far, having a quick glance, I've actually got some of it on the money. We were discussing, and I brought up the fact to you about Fracture and Split being hard bans for Order throughout the entire playoffs. That has remained. Maybe we thought it would be Fracture first, but in the end, didn't really matter. And then I also mentioned Breeze would probably be that insta-ban as well for Iconic. That then leaves us with remaining in this instance, Icebox for Order, Bind for Iconic, and Haven as the decider.
And I think the part of the reason that maybe Order go in this particular or Order as well is due to the fact that they don't think that Fracture is going to get picked. So the two banned maps that Order always go for Fracture and Split almost 100% of the time. The order they do them in is not necessarily the same. We've seen them ban Fracture first and leave Split open, then ban Split later. I think this particular lineup, it shows that they are confident that if they put Split up first, that Iconic are not going to go ahead and pick Fracture, and so they can just leave that as their second ban, and they're probably a little bit more concerned about Iconic picking the Split in that first phase, and with the Split gone, Iconic will go towards Bind as well, and Bind I think right now is one of Iconic's better maps, and we also did see Honey Badgers beat Order on this map as well, so they may be sensing a bit of blood in there. Breeze has been Iconic's permaban the entire way through, so that's not a surprise.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, the first two bans probably weren't all that much of a surprise. The other thing as well is Iconic have also banned out both Split and Fracture in the past so far here in the playoffs. So the fact that Fracture and Split like to be banned by Order, and in some ways don't mind to be banned by Iconic either, I think that's actually then a win for Iconic, because that just frees them up a little bit in terms of what they want to get rid of, right? You take out Breeze and so forth. So it's hard to say, because I think Icebox is also kind of interesting. It was won by Iconic in their recent matchup as well against Fun Crew. So it's not like they're bad on that map either.
Yeah.
So I think this is not too bad. They got the Bind, which obviously was a recent loss as well for Order. It's not too often you're going to go up against Order and they have a map in the L column and not in the W column. So of course you got to take that opportunity.
Well, I see what happens at the best of 5 eventually. Either one of these two teams, maybe even both, will be in that grand final where you're not really going to have as many bans. You have to play through more of the maps. So a lot of these maps that are gone, we're going to eventually have to see. But before we get any further, guys, we do have the fan predictions coming on in. Our own predictions as well. No surprise here. It's Order across the board. 66% of fans, though. So, I mean, 34% going for Iconic, which I think is fair. Like, 2/3 Order, 1/3 Iconic. It shows that, the Iconic fan base, they're coming out. They're coming through and they're backing their boys.
Yeah, I will say, obviously, the fans got it right yesterday, so 66%.
They'll probably get it right today as well.
That's fine for Order. They'll probably get it right today as well. I was maybe expecting a little bit higher, maybe like 75%, or even up to 80. You wouldn't have been too surprised. Yeah, you can't go past Order here, right? When you just look at the history, the statistics, it all just says Order. I'd love to see Iconic at least push them to a third map, though. I think that's, in some ways, almost like a mini win, the same way that obviously Honey Badgers was able to achieve that earlier. The only thing is, if you do get that and you do fall short, just make sure you don't then fall short in the lower bracket as well.
That would be the scare, and there's a lot of teams at lower bracket that would want to get revenge on Iconic for sure. The winner of Bonkers versus Fun Crew, either one of them would love to get that rematch. As we're about to head into the game now, one thing that's really interesting about both teams is that they've both taken down Fun Crew in recent matches on this matchup, and on this particular map, I should say. So there's some good statistics, good wins on both teams on record for Icebox, which I think would get really spicy.
I believe this is going to be the first time I've actually cast Icebox, because
I
stopped casting Valorant when it wasn't in. No, it was not
Really?
in. Yeah, so
Okay.
this is awesome. I love this map, and I think this is going to be a good opportunity for both teams because, as I said before, what? Are you that shocked?
You haven't casted like half the map pool then if you haven't done Icebox yet.
Oh yeah, no. Well, it's funny because my two favorite maps are probably Fracture and Breeze. I know Fracture obviously caused a bit of a fracture in the community, but I actually love it. I love the way it plays, and I love that it's so unique in itself. But
You like the maps the community hates.
yeah, I know, it's weird. Everyone absolutely hates me now. But look, the way you play on the map's always going to be a little bit different, right? Maybe the way that the competitors play is also going to be a little bit different too.
Anyway, as you were saying, I brought us off track there a little bit just to poke fun, but I don't know if do you even remember what your thought was? I don't even know where we were going for previously.
I was just going to say I think this should be a good map for both teams. I think this is a decent opportunity for Iconic. They had a very good result against Fun Crew. They beat them on it, so it's not like they're going to be uncomfortable here.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing is, when we look at the compositions here, one thing that stands out to me straight away is the Disco Reyna. Now, we see Fun Crew play that as well. So, you know, in terms of teams beating Fun Crew, knowing how to play against that type of composition, certainly Iconic will have that experience. We've seen Dragon on the Reyna really pull some heavyweight when it's Fun Crew in this exact spot, and we see Fun Crew have some otherwise really good results in Icebox outside of losing to these two teams. Then over on the Iconic side of things, more of a standard lineup. They have the Killjoy there. That's kind of what I expect to see normally for most teams. You're not playing the double duelist. You're a little bit more utility, especially on the defense, denying the plants and the nanoswarms. Super important here, Jake. As we're about to head into map number 1, upper bracket final. Winner goes to the grand final. Only 4 teams left in VOT.
Yeah, and it's so important here for Iconic to get off to a good start. Even if they don't win the pistol round, obviously that's not the end of the world. But if they can get off to that good start, find some confidence, form, momentum early on here on Icebox, I think it's going to do them a world of good. They're a super talented team. They've got a lot of talented players. They're going to be able to give Order a really good match here. It's just about those little moments, those little 50-50s here or there. If they can win the majority of those, puts them in a good position to go on and win the game.
All right, map's getting started here. You did see Tux right as well. In the chat there, he says, have fun. Note the lack of the good luck in there. No luck today for Iconic. You want your luck, you better make it yourself. 4-man walk down over towards mid. Information gained. Tux on the other end, instantly dead. Hope he had fun from that.
Yeah, and this is now going to make things a little bit easier, obviously, for Iconic. The beauty of getting that opening pick, there's not a whole lot of time. Pistol round means Order, probably just going to send it over towards one of the sides and hope for the best. Iconic, they have shifted the majority of their players towards B site, and this may actually leave A open and give Order a bit of a look in.
They'll leave the Toxin screen down over towards A, though, so should the retake come on through, they'll have numbers and they'll have some utility to work through. Very important Toxin screen to have for that retake as well. Defensive recon being thrown out. You can see that Iconic are potentially concerned about A, especially with how far off Swirl is actually playing. He's playing very far upside.
Yeah, and they're just sending 2 players forward here through B, cleared it out. Now, this is where you'll probably get that rotation for the retake for Iconic. Yes, they've got the 1-man advantage, but this is where Order probably do their best work, right? Hold some off angles, try and find the odd little pick here or there. Mike, they're able to at least get that second frag. Now makes it a 5 versus 3. That's what having those numbers will prove to be the difference. 2 versus 1 towards the end. Still got to get that defuse though. And Disco holding out, still full health and has that 50 armor as well.
Panic's got a wall. That's really important to note, and that will allow them to have a lot of pressure on this. Now, defuse, they can hear the ropes coming through as well. Shibby shots connect by Swirl, but he misses. Disco might be able to get the clutch here. He'll get the 2 kills, but Spike will be defused. Disco really making Iconic sweat, and that's the power of the Reyna on a pistol. So much extra HP from the healing.
That's fine. I mean, look, you get the defuse off, you win the round. That's really all you can want. It's pistol round anyway, so it's not the end of the world. The other thing to note as well, for the last time Icebox was played for Iconic, it was their defense that was slightly better than their attack. They went 7-5. They had that 58% defensive win rate. So very important for them to be able to get off to a good start here on the defense, get this opening pistol round. Now they can buy up a little bit, try and get that scoreboard ticking. You win a couple of rounds, that puts you in good stand to then do well on your defense when maybe your attack might not go quite as well.
Jake, Order are forced into this round. They want it badly. There's all 5 now. Running up the choke of 8. Guns in hand. I mean, there's a Guardian in there. 3 Spectres as well. Surely the information has been found now. Autumn already onto 410. Wall coming down from Texter, and they're looking for the plant.
Yeah, there is still a lot of time here, though, but if Iconic let this plant go down, then obviously time's not going to be quite as plentiful, and now it is achieved for Order. This rush so far has been perfect. No eliminations have been found yet, though, and obviously that means Iconic's still a chance, but Autumn, nice little spray through the smoke, gets out Punda. That now puts Order in a very favorable position, considering that plant is down, and it gets one back. It's now a 4 versus 4.
2 versus 1, just the 1 versus 3 now. With Disco going down, that causes a bit of problems. Maple, last one surviving. Smokes are causing more issues indeed, but the utility connects. Shot dart onto Mike, who was going for the defuse, and an extra headshot as well to bring things within line for 1 versus 1. There's a major health pool difference. Duddy Boy has a lot to work through, and he'll survive with the 12, and that is exactly the health difference that counts in a round like this.
Never mind. I've mistimed that one. It's 1-1. Big, though, from Maple. You said it as well. The utility proving to be the difference there. It was a 3 versus 1 as well towards the end of that round. Despite Order's pretty decent start, I still think Iconic actually did a decent job to then bring it back, to get it to that 3v1. Remembering Order found the opening pick. They got the plant down early. They took that A site way too easily as well. But then you give a little bit of credit to Iconic. Yes, they had maybe some better guns, but for the most part, they were able to then get that advantage. Full credit to Maple, though, single-handedly then saves the round at the end.
Yeah, that shock data coming through towards the end was really the difference maker. Time was, oh my goodness, there would have only been about a second or two. The difference between getting the defuse or not, a bit of a heartbreaker for Iconic, where otherwise they were looking in good stead. Duddy Boy instantly did, though, no dash even to come on through. Sight's been taken, not expecting too much more from this round.
No, it's not. Obviously for Iconic, not going to be able to really buy into this round and have much of a chance. Yeah, Mike gets one there, but the damage has already been done. You'd always probably back Order to win this third round now after winning the second. That's the price you pay when you buy those SMGs into that second round, force buy in, win the round. You're then very likely to take that third round. So Order take control to start in the first 3 rounds. 2-1 start. And that's the end of our pistol exchange, really, in the first 3 rounds. Now we can really get going.
Just the fact that Order even win that second round as well. Deny the anti-eco. They've anti the anti-eco from Iconic. Really put their economy to the test. And as we get into round number 4, both teams have gotten rifles on board for the most part. Maple, Texas Tux have them. Disco still with the Guardian. Ultimate timings here will be super important. Both of our Sages already have their resurrections available.
Standing ahead.
Only the half armor for Maple, but that's fine. He's been sitting back a little bit anyway. Not going to be probably in the thick of it. Oh, nice early pickup for Dutty Boy, and that's Texter off the board. Early pick for Iconic. Order may go off of this anyway, regardless of the player getting eliminated. They are too close to that A site. They want to get that plant down as early as possible.
Disco has the wrong gun for this ultimate, unfortunately. You like to see him pick up one of those drop rifles. Or if somebody have dropped him a rifle in the first place, but might be the case now. They'll play off of that Empress. Still haven't planted yet. The difficulty with planting now is because they lose Texas, they don't have the wall to cover themselves. And now the Empress has been deleted.
Yeah, Dutty finds a second one in the round. This is good for Iconic, though. So far, yeah, it's a 1-2 scoreline, but they are finding kills. They are in these rounds. It's a 3K now for Dutty Boy. Could actually go for the ace. Why not? Swirl, though, denies that by finding the 4th elimination of the round. That just leaves Tux now in the 1v5, and I think at this point you may as well just go back and save.
And you're certainly walking out. 34 HP. Absolutely nothing to be able to do further into this round. Losing Texter early is not fun when you're on the attacking side and you need walls to be able to get you on towards sites for a decent plant. And you know, I think Disco as well. Guarding with Emperor is not ideal. Really need a proper rifle for that one to be competitive. But Duddy had a lot of work in this round in order to, from taking down Texter, then Disco, converting a number 3. Even just from the first 2, it was enough for Iconic to get a good to get their defuse in there.
I think the biggest sign right now for Iconic, and the best sign, is the fact that they're matching Order for kills. It's a 2-2 scoreline, 15 to 14 kills overall. 1-for-1 trade to start this 5th round. It has been very fast-paced, though, from Order. Swirl doesn't find anything, though, with the Hunter's Fury, and this is, I think, fine for Iconic, because they've stopped the initial rush.
It's probably okay they don't res Duddy, because you're about to see a situation where Order take control of green anyway. It's going to be quite difficult to get the res, so Panic wanted to go for it. Body was blocked by the wall. Now it's not going to happen. Tux instantly frags him, and with an extra resurrection to Autumn, they have numbers advantage. Now only 1 play left. Punda trying to do his best. 30 HP, though, and his position has been known. He's got 2 already. Trying to make it work, but he should get fragged in just a second.
Yeah, the vertical advantage there for Maple, the difference in the end. I thought if they actually had stayed grouped at the end there together, maybe there was a chance for Punda to get the little quick 1-2 transfer, but not to be. And Order will take this 5th round. It's been a fast start, though, on Icebox. It's gone pretty quick, 3-2 score. Back and forth as well, the nature of it. That was probably the first time, though, where I think Order just straight out fragged Iconic on the push over towards B, whereas A had a little bit more of that, okay, they'll take the site control and then it slows down and then Iconic push back. That was just Order just straight up hitting their shots on the way in towards B.
Well, it's a lot of the fact that, you know, Duddy was doing the legwork on previous rounds, but he was the first one dead and they couldn't quite get the res. Again, maybe that's a good thing because it would have been a wasted res. 5 up all the way onto long B. Duddy looking for a couple of hits, just can't land one.
And so far, no real shenanigans as well from Order, no splits. They are just hard pushing each site. Order able to find a quick double with the ulti, and this is looking like it's going to be Order's round once again. And this time they're going to take a 4-2 lead. And just quietly now, that scoreboard, this is where it starts to really tick away from Iconic if they can't keep up with the pace and pressure of Order. And so far, the last 2 rounds very much proving that that B site is a little bit weakened at the moment. They're going to have to find a way to probably reinforce it, make it a little bit tougher so that Order can't just push through. Find 1-2 quick kills early on, take site, win the round.
Certainly that 5th round calls to that. The last one was not expecting a lot from the eco. We'll have to see now with this number... What is it, 7 on board, especially with more ultimates available, if that's going to make a big difference. Upgrade there for Autumn so that everyone gets to be on a rifle. Pits available here as well. So if they want to pre-pit this, it'll be over towards A. But the fact that Punda hasn't gone towards it yet means they'll save it for a retake.
Yeah, I think for Order right now as well, why not just keep going fast? Why not keep that pace at 100? It's been working. 1-for-1 straight. That's fine though for Iconic. They don't mind that too much. They can get those rotations out. They got mid control. They can even come in from the backside of A side for a retake here. Dutty Boy gets a freebie onto Autumn and just sitting there.
Lockdown.
Nice little peek. Finds the kill. Plant going down. It will be successful, but it's a 4 versus 3. Disco though makes it even. 3 versus 3. Retake needed for Iconic.
Yeah, you do have to lock down this to get through the pit. Indeed, they'll be able to get a res in this play as well. The fact that Panic's still alive. Time is okay. Iconic can't afford to get too aggressive right now. They're losing players. You can't be doing that.
Oh my god.
2 players detained, but it's only 1 up from Searle to have to try and get them down. Maple's still there though. Swole wants to go for the defuse. Now he's not got time to both kill Maple, kill everybody else, and defuse. I think they pulled the trigger a little bit too early there. You have to wait for the lockdown to finish its thing and then get control after that.
It's a discipline thing, both sides of it though, right? You know, as you said, you got to wait for that lockdown to fully finish. You get maybe confident with 1 or 2 seconds to go that Order have probably cleared out the area or are not in a threatening position. Lo and behold, they're going to do the unthinkable, right? And they're going to make those kind of plays. That's what sets them apart. And Disco having a field day right now, 10-3-1. And all of a sudden now economy is an issue as well for Iconic. So they were kind of keeping up the pace for the first 4 rounds, but just slowly, Avril, they've fallen away.
And maybe if, as Punda actually gets a brilliant opening headshot onto Autumn, maybe if the pit wasn't there, then you could be a little bit more confident, go when there's about a couple seconds left on the lockdown. If you walk straight up into a pit, and somebody decides to lurk inside of that, the only way you lose is if you suddenly then die to that play, which was Tux, and they did die to him. So that is playing into your opponent's outs and not your own, unfortunately, in a situation where Iconic once again have to eco and they're all off slightly. Might have gotten an opening frag. The other 4 will still be difficult to do. Duddy Boy versus Tux now potentially contacted. But he walks away. Noise made.
Swell does find one onto Maple, but if they continue to push onto site here, you're going to have Tux coming in behind anyway, and he cleans up easily. Double at the end. Iconic not getting anything out of this round. I thought maybe there was an opportunity they could find a rifle or 2, and they could still do it through Punda. He may actually catch Tux if Tux doesn't push forward. Never mind. Text up. Catches out the Sneaky Viper. It's a 6-2 scoreline. And very quickly, Iconic, after a pretty decent start from them in the first 4 rounds, it's 4 in a row for Order.
Yeah, Texter saw a snake in the grass, but he bought a lawnmower today. Duddy Boy, operator now coming through. Late in the day, but they just haven't had the money. And Duddy's been pretty good on the up. He's been pretty good, generally speaking. He's been top fragger for the squad. They've had some decent trades back and forth, you know, even rounds that Iconic lose. They've been able to get kills. I don't believe there's been a flawless coming through just yet, which means we have had some back and forth gameplay. Still waiting to see this res come through, and you know, you're not going to see it in the eco round, but on the gun rounds as well. Just haven't had the chance to get them in. Autumn, second time in a row, will be picked out by a sniper, this time from the operator Duddy.
Yeah, and I don't have the statistics in front of me, so I'm going to be probably off the mark here, but it feels like every time Iconic have found the opening pick, they haven't quite been able to capitalize, and we've seen Order just consistently bring rounds back. They lose that opening player, but that's fine. They're able to readjust, maneuver, and bind their way usually onto site, and there's that second pick. This one goes to Order. It's like deja vu.
That was an unfortunate crosshair placement coming through from Panic, slightly too low. Maple had assumed there was going to be play on towards Boiler. Duddy trades it back, though. That's the power of the operator coming through big time now. Mike almost had the shot into Texter. And this is the problem as well. The Panic dying, they just can't recover players via the resurrection, but they can at least make sure that numbers are still in their favor by 1.
Yeah, and I was going to say they could have actually blocked off mid, maybe even a little bit better as well, but obviously for Iconic, they're going to want to play it a little bit safe. They'll go for A, and this is fine. Iconic have already kind of switched over. Don't sense that Order's going to win this one.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, patience being shown. Well, you want to die too soon here. You want to make sure your Soviet utility can get you across the board. 3 players versus 2, and that toxin screen is going to be deadly. Really good for this retake.
And Order have enough credits in the bank. They can go for this. They actually can go for the Resurrect onto Order. They feel like this is a winnable round, and it very well might be. Punda, though, continues to frag out. Shot miss from Dutty Boy, but at times even the best will miss the odd shot. He's been sensational, as Punda has been in this particular round as well. They'll give him the defuse as well. It's a 3-6 scoreline. Iconic finally break that streak of Order.
What a round by Dutty Boy. Every single time you thought, okay, Order are bringing this one back. They're pulling players back towards even. Duddy's like, no, I'm going to get you one more. I'm going to get one more to make sure that +1 advantage we had remains a +1 advantage. And they kept that throughout the entire round, even towards the end there. Even when Texter threw in the actual resurrection, no panic coming through in terms of what Duddy Boy's doing. So, brilliant stuff to at least get the 3 on the board. 3 more rounds to play through. Tech pause for the moment. So, we'll see what's going on the Order side of things as they resolve it. Maple's walked off, so he's been abducted by aliens. Just straight up, he's just gone, you know. Oh, there he is. He's back. Aliens were kind. They brought him back into action.
Mate, that is the biggest toilet break I've ever seen. For sure. That's a quick one off to the
technical
toilet.
Pause. There's an error with my bladder that needs to be addressed. I've got to technically address this in a second.
Yeah, nah, I could be wrong. I have no idea. Yeah, big round win, of course, for Iconic. This map is not over, but the other thing as well to sort of mention here, this is, of course, the map pick of Order, right? And I think coming into this, when we saw the vetoes, the maps that we've got after this are probably the 2 maps I would have thought Iconic would have a better chance on, being Bind and Haven, right? So there's very much no expectations here on Icebox. I mean, there's basically no expectations in the match as a whole. If there is going to be anything to happen from Iconic, though, it's probably Bind and Haven. And yet still, it's not like they've been all that bad here. Of course, they started very well in the first 4 rounds, then Order got on a bit of a roll, but they're not out of it yet. They get this round back. Obviously, we've got even rifles here coming into this 10th round. You win this 4-6, suddenly things are looking up.
That's that second round that will come back to bite Iconic in terms of where things were. Oh, Swirl nearly had the lineup there. In fact, he's managed to penetrate an extra shot onto Autumn anyway, so doesn't quite get the secondary kill, but Autumn's on 1. We'll need to back out. Receive a heal from Tech. No, he can't. Tex is dead, so unlucky.
Yeah, this is a really winnable round now for Iconic as well. Only 50 seconds left on the clock, but Order already onto site. Clock management has been perfect from Order. They've not really ever been in a position where they're getting onto site late. It's always early. It's always them on the forefront. They're setting the tone, setting the pace. And Maple can now get this plant down safely.
Extra Nanostorm coming through. They won't deny the plant. They did slow it down briefly. Tux does collect the kill into Mike with the timing. Mike couldn't respond. There it is. Finally, we can see the resurrection in, but, you know, shortly lived as what is going on here. Tux, Disco, and Maple for 3 in a row. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's rough. Especially considering this was a very, very winnable round for Iconic. Dutty Boy's got to hit the shot. He misses the initial one. He's got the blades anyway, and he takes out Disco, then Autumn as well. The knives proving to be fruitful, but not enough to secure the round. Swell got Tux, but the Maple was there for the quick trade. Order take this one.
Duddy nearly did it again. Jesus, Duddy. Taking the game into his own hands there. If that third kill came through, I mean, the clutch was on. Iconic was back in action now. Iconic was brought back to the round officially at that stage. Missed the off shot, but Knives will connect on beautifully. Still, though, you see Iconic with some player advantage. Order swing through. 3 players, 3 separate frags. Not a care in the world. Another eco coming through from Iconic, which means they'll be sacrificing this one to play for a 4 and 8.
Yeah, and it's what I said really at the start of this game. The 50-50s quite literally need to go the way of Iconic. They need to be getting those little 50-50s to go their way if they're going to have any chance of getting a result here on Icebox. And so far, it's been all Order winning those 50-50s. Iconic get the opening pick, doesn't matter, Order still win the round. And that's probably been the forefront of Order's result here on Icebox so far.
Might end up seeing Order cancel here as well. It depends on their confidence levels. They'll be up against quite a bit of utility. Texas already pushed up over towards A. Order has a line work through. Just don't want to take too many risks versus pistol, especially when Duddy's on mark. Boy, I don't want to stand still when Duddy's shooting. Back away, Maple.
Mike, yeah, and that toxic screen helping Mike able to get over and pick up that Vandal. Gets that elimination onto Disco. Unfortunately, though, falls to Autumn shortly after. And this is usually where Order just turn things back around, late round. Fortunately, though, there was the defuse. It's a thrifty for Iconic, a much needed round win. As we head into the final round of the first half, if they can get to a 5-7 scoreline, that is pretty decent.
They've just stolen away around. That looked like it should have been Orders. They kind of walked up, got that half defuse. Hunter's Fury slowed things down. They got straight back on there, and before you know it, Order, I don't know if they were asleep at the wheel, but they just didn't, they weren't able to get back and control their site. So that was meant to be a freebie for Order. Iconic were playing for this round to try and steal away the 4 and 8. Now an opportunity for a 5-8 finish instead. Duddy versus Autumn. And Duddy's going to walk forward to try and find somebody on the cross. He'll get tagged by the recon though, so we'll have to back off from that.
And Dutty right now has by far and away been the MVP for Iconic. So many opening picks and giving them so many look-ins in terms of having that opening advantage in rounds, that 5v4. Yeah, they haven't quite been able to capitalize, but it's still, he's done an amazing job for them. And this is where Order now shake it back up again and see if they can, instead of playing towards A or B, go down towards mid and try and catch out members of Iconic.
Storm's going to cut off Texter and Disco from walking further forward. No significant damage being taken though, and most of the players of the defense have arrived. At this stage, it's a little bit awkward because you have no good ability to get past this pit on towards A unless you want to counter pit yourself. They're actually going to walk through mid towards border. Yeah, it is going to be the counter pit. This is going to be a mid to A play. Very rare to see. And Duddy Boy's already on the mark. He's going to clean it up. Spikes to the floor.
2 quick ones for Dotty Boy. He has been so sensational to watch for Iconic, and a big reason why they may just win this round. Gets a third before he goes down. Punter and Mike finish the job off for Iconic. It's a 5-7 first half. It's been Dotty Boy's first half.
Oh, man, dude. Can't count Iconic out when Duddy's on form like this. And there have been plenty of rounds where, I mean, you even within this first half that you're like, man, Iconic probably could have won this round. This round was pretty close as well. Order managed to swing through for some really decent plays. Duddy Boy nearly saves them on various occasions. I still look back over towards that second round, the fact that it came down to basically 1 versus 1. It's been a pretty close affair, especially now that 5-7 is on board. That round 11 that got stolen away by the sneaky defuse of Iconic, super important. One that Order's going to have to look back on with probably not a lot of fondness in terms of that, in their minds, would have been the 8th round, the 4-8 confirmed.
I will remind you, though, of course, it was the defense of Iconic that was better for them in their last match against Fun Crew. They only went 6-6 in the attacking half for their sake. So they're going to have to find a way to improve on that kind of statistic if they are to win here on Icebox. But still, I think nevertheless, good signs from Iconic so far for the series as a whole. Punda has an opportunity but can't quite take the head of Texter. Almost got a second, went for the shoulder pick but elected not to.
People getting spotted by a turret there as well, so more information. Disco struggled with the first 3 shots, but will eventually connect on Punda, who had no idea. Bullets fly past his face. I'm a little surprised. Tux spotted by the recon. Plant's coming through as well. They managed to sneak this one through.
Disco's got 3 in the round. I mean, even just getting that plant down is still good, at least for Iconic in terms of economy. Panic does take out Texter. This is a round that has come at some kind of cost for Order, but not too much really as a whole. There's still a chance. Panic really just has to land that body shot onto Maple. Disco has been on point. Bit of a heal. Now Maple and Disco both low, but it was Disco who ended up finding the elimination onto Panic. Of course, he gets all 5. A perfect round for Disco, and then the defuse as well makes it 8-5.
Disco won't even tank, by the way. He doesn't even want to get the defuse, even though that would be 6 out of 6. Probably believes that, I mean, you would expect that you are going to be able to find another frag here or an orb or something on the secondary round. So a pistol ace coming through will always accelerate one of your players heavily towards an early ultimate timing. So he's going to be timing this one for round 3. Already has a rifle in hand as well. So that's the early start you want. You're going to be playing this round hard and fast if you are Disco. So if you start winning to the degree where it doesn't really matter, Disco's best play would then be to try and go and die, drop his rifle for a teammate, grab that Vandal back for number 3, then Empress on that round 3. So he's very much in line to get a brilliant timing here.
Yeah, and of course for Maple, it's going to take a little bit longer to get that Hunter's Fury up. So you're going to want to give him a boost where you can. 5-8 scoreline. It's been a fun one so far. And now it's Iconic's turn to go for a bit of a rush push here over towards A site. Remember, back in the first half, this was successful for Order. We'll see if Iconic can find the same success. They open it up with the headshot onto Autumn. Autumn may just readjust here. Of course, they're going to bring over the cavalries as well. But so far, Panic will be able to get this plant down. And it is, once again, a winnable round for Iconic. But Disco, the Vandal, then the Spectre of Maple. And now just too good with their shots. It was pistols only, though, Avril, at the very least. They didn't fall by into the round, and they got the plant down. Still somewhat winnable, too, 2 versus 2.
Absolutely. I mean, Tux will have that come to Duddy Boy, bring it down to 1. Punda's already been decayed. Now they just have to look for the rifle, which they're about to do. Give that one back over towards Disco in the next round. And things are okay, but you're not wrong. I mean, we do have a situation where it's a lot of losses on the side of Order for an anti-eco. You know, brilliant opening pick coming through. Courtesy of, I think it was Panic and Duddy over towards Autumn, where Autumn was having his cross his train on Duddy, who dashes away, and then relay into the dunk, or the layup into the dunk there for Panic to be able to get the 3 or the 2. That shows how much I know about basketball scoring. That's besides the point there as we get into the important round now.
Into the 15th round. Order looking to crack double digits. Obviously for Iconic, it was pistols only in the round prior. They fall by into this 15th round. But look how aggressive Order getting already over towards B. They're happy to push up and get some information, free information at that. Dutty Boy, it's been so perfect with his shots, but unable to land it there with the Vandal.
Yeah, so they walk up, wall down, and that's going to give the now orb over towards Maple because they're working on the Hunter's Fury next. They have the Empress, they're 2 away from the Hunter's Fury. Duddy Boy finds Tux. I mean, it's just the off angle that he's on is pretty brilliant. Goodbye, Maple. Duddy on the same angle will collect 2 for 1. Autumn down. This gets awkward because you want to be able to Empress this right. You might still do it.
Oh!
Trying to heal himself away, but just can't do it because he took a lick of damage. If he gets swirled there, just go get swirled there. I mean, that would have been brilliant, but does get denied.
Oh, he's going to catch Texter here. He is going to catch him. Dutty Boy with a 3K. Has been absolutely on point for Iconic. It is now a 9-6 scoreline in favor of Order, but Iconic are just not going away, Avril.
No, a round like that where Duddy on top of the tube, on top of the tunnel.
Eco's rough now for Order as well.
Absolutely. I mean, they work towards good map positioning, orb control, putting the right weapon in the right player's hands, and it's difficult for Disco as well because you want to Empress, but it is also 2 versus 4. And then you can find yourself into a gunfight where there's just no chance to ult anymore. Speaking of ults, Duddy Boy straight away over towards the Blades.
And Shorty's out for Order, expecting maybe a rush from Iconic and just being able to hold close angles, find that pick, then pick up the rifle. Duddy Boy goes big though, maybe too aggressive, and obviously just works right into the hands of the Shorty for Texter. Now that's a rifle on the side of Order that they can use and play off of. And that's going to force Iconic to probably rotate over towards B side.
There was no gun bought by Duddy there, so he won't be dropping anything over. He was on the late storm instead, so pretty the sigh of relief as a silver lining. Rest of Order will now start rotating over towards B, so they've read that play correctly. At the same time, yeah, you're right. Duddy went a little bit hard there. Went past the Toxin screen, no support, and just died.
Fortunately, plenty of time still remaining though for Iconic to get over this B site. Now they can take these fights, better angles. Hunter's Fury from Maple, successful. Hollow Panic though finds the quick double. Resurrect coming out as well from Panic onto Swell, getting back up and healthy. Keep that gun, keep that economy ticking over for Iconic. They're going to go up and take this round. It's 7-9. It's only a 2-round differential here on Icebox.
Yeah, don't mind the economy res at all, especially in a situation where you're still trying to build. First 4 rounds, having players alive, holding guns, super important. And now we get Order back on towards a buy. Autumn gets that operator online, which will be really important as we head over towards sight lines on A. It looks like Iconic are gearing up for an A side walk up as well. So expecting that Order will be able to get something off this.
If we could redo our player matchups, I think Dotty Boy and Disco would be the matchups 21-12 and 21-10 between the two of them, leading from the front for both of their respective teams. Iconic definitely seeing the fruits of that and being very close in this match against Order, and they can start to feel that momentum. You can find this round now, get to 8-9, and further punish the economy of Order. They are right in this map.
Dotty's already through onto yellow. Unspotted. Tex will see this in a second. That's a very early wall from Tex's gut feeling says that something was going to happen over towards B. Spike uncommitted though, as you're getting a lot of movement now from the rest of Iconic onto A. That's going to be a very slight lurk from Mike, just kind of making his way up. Duddy will go for the big flank here when it all pops off.
You say the big flank, and it is going to be big in terms of the length it's going to take him to get there. Is he going to get there too late to the fray? Oh, Iconic going to be down and out by the time he does get there. Well, never mind. He doesn't even make his way over there. Tux, the veteran, he knows exactly what was up, and for Iconic, that momentum gets shut down pretty quickly from Order. It's going to be 10-7. Order edge a little bit closer to taking out the map here on Icebox.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, they know roughly where Panic is, especially now that he's fired shots, so at this stage, everybody swings at the same time. Disco barely takes damage. Doesn't matter anyway because he heals up. Not that it matters anyway because he'll have to rebuy armor, but here we go. Timeout coming through from Iconic as Order hit the double digits. It was a pretty tough round. They lose all over the map. Duddy's flank goes pretty poorly. I mean, I think it was a good read from Tux as well. You saw the early wall come down from Texas. They had already either gotten info or made an exceptionally good read that somebody was going to flank them. Left Tux behind to watch that angle over from what was orange, and pegs off. And beyond that as well, they stop all the aggression coming through from A, so Order just winning across the map.
You just have to wonder, Iconic getting yellow control so early on there, do they maybe instead go for B? Instead of that late, well not late, but mid-round rotation back over towards A, which clearly just didn't work at all. Should have they maybe just gone for that B site push and trust in their own ability to take that site? Maybe you lose 1 or 2 players, that's fine, but then you get that plant down, and then you can hold for the retake.
I'm a little bit concerned about Viper's utility coming through, perhaps. But trusted the call from Mike to say nothing's happening of note over towards A, maybe come over. Not that Mike was really doing too much on A either, so it's one of those things where you want to go where your stack is, or you're going to go where your lurk is. They were probably thinking that maybe if they made enough noise on B, they could force rotations, but I Order just read that so perfectly. They were in position already. Autumn this time around, likely to be up against Duddy first. Oh, good drone. Yeah, you wanted. That's going to push Autumn off the line for sure.
Panic though finds the opening pick onto Maple. That might give them freedom to head over towards A side, but Disco is pushed up, and that maybe catches Panic off guard. Nice little angle as well from Texter. Disco just punishes Ponder. The round has fallen to pieces for Iconic, despite getting that opening pick. How many times has that happened here on this map? Yeah, they're getting these picks, but they're just not able to capitalize, and Disco has continued to play out of his mind here on Icebox. 1 versus 4. Duddy Boy's good. He's been very good, but I don't see him clutching up this one.
I'll do it just to take guns away. I mean, that will still mean something at the end of the day. Putting Order onto 11, still 4 round of a gap. Good news for
Get the
Duddy is
spike
that he
down.
will be able to get over on towards A. We'll see if he actually gets a plant or not. There's not a lot of utility that could stop him from planting. And even Disco's line, it's
30
very
seconds left.
peculiar line. It's not particularly, it's not really going to give him too much to work through. So for the most part, Duddy will be fine, but he's taken long enough that Tex is on his tail.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh, he's going to walk into
always-
Disco. Yeah, here we go.
10 seconds left.
Walked into everybody, really.
Well, they walked into him in the end, Order just surrounding Dirty Boy. Took his time to walk onto A site, couldn't get that plant down in time, and in the end loses that rifle and doesn't get the spike down. 11-7 though.
Oh, and it's going to be a force, yeah. They're going to have to. They don't want to give the 12 over. When you get this close to 12 on the other end, you kind of have to prevent them. So whatever money they have left, they're going to full buy up. 3 rifles, 2 SMGs. The 3...
Full armor.
Yeah, that'll help. Won't help against Autumn. To be fair, the Autumn hasn't really landed too many operator shots so far, so might be okay. Importantly,
What's
though...
the
What's that?
opposite of the caster curse?
I mean, we'll see it. We'll see if it happens now. Autumn. Yeah, I mean, did I really? Who knows?
Nice shot from Dirty Boy. There's no curse there. He's continued to be precise with his aim. And this is probably what Iconic need to do. They need to be aggressive here with 2 Spectres on their side as well. Obviously, Lockdown does go down to try and help out here on this A site. This is a must-win round, especially, once again, after getting that opening pick.
Hit coming through as well. It's going to be so good for Plunder. I mean, this is going to be awkward for Order to come in through. They've already used their pit on the other side of the map as well. With Swirl going down, at least brings the numbers back to even. But how do you navigate your way through this pit? That's such a strong post-plant position for Iconic.
Panic, nice little angle. What's that Phantom to use? Takes out Texter. Autumn, he does land that shot this time with the operator to 3 versus 3. This is still somewhat
Plunder.
winnable for Autumn at Plunder. Nicely executed. Has Maple just above him. Is he aware of it though? Autumn pulls out the operator again and he gets Dirty Boy. I think though, time running out for Order. Need to get these final few frags. It might not happen though. Plunder gets another one as well. Maple in a 1 versus 1, but no time. It's going to be 8-11.
Yeah, he's going to try and bait Mike to peek him and maybe take away Mike's weapon. I mean, they'll just both die there. To be fair, I don't know. Well, Mike would have taken through the Spectre. It doesn't really matter. He'll want a rifle. So I suppose it's not the worst that Mike died. So he'll, at least he being able to drag Mike into the depths with him. What a round coming through from Iconic, though. They did spend pretty much everything to be able to put themselves into contention, lock down into pit. So you get the entire Order squad off the site. You even catch, by the way, Autumn inside that lockdown. So you have 1 player detained and then instantly play for the pit with nothing to stop the pit from forming. And then beyond that, your post plant almost plays itself.
But you're now down to half armor on all 5 players. Yes, you've got 5 rifles, but the last round you had 3 rifles and everyone had full armor. The Spectres in the end actually did some work too. So are they actually better off here?
Well, they got the
Remains to
round.
be seen.
Well, you don't want to give the 12th over to Order.
They did get the round, but it's like at what cost? It was a costly one.
So, Jake, really, at the end of the day, what needs to happen is they need to get the round, but cleaner than that is what we'll agree on. But they did need to get the round. Because there's no world where you allow Order to get to 12 here. So keep it within 3. Duddy in a good position on yellow, looking to see if anyone wants to peek. And indeed, Autumn does.
Do they commit to B at this point? I would imagine it's going to happen when we look at that spike now heading over to B, and so is the entire team of Iconic. Utility comes out from both, but it's Maple who does find the opening elimination. 50 seconds left. Resurrect goes out. Toxic Screen will help actually stop that one. Panic goes through. Trade. Maple does find that elimination immediately after that as well. And then Disco, of course, always in the kill feed. Dirty Boy needs to find a couple of picks. Plunder has been pretty good in the last couple of rounds. There's a second one back-to-back, pushes forward. Can't get the third. Texter too strong. Now in a 1 versus 1 though. Dirty Boy and Disco, you couldn't make it up. This is prime time finish. 1v1 between the 2 best players in this match overall.
Disco's over here, though. He actually hears footsteps as well, so he knows he'll get the timing here. Duddy has no idea. And that's the information difference. Duddy wanted to make a play over towards A. He wasn't trusting what was going on towards B. Didn't quite know where Disco was. And Disco had his number. 29 on board for Disco so far. 1 away from the 30. 12 has been found by Order. And Iconic failed to
They got
keep it within
nothing.
3. Yeah, and they need that last round because it was a half buy, basically a force. I mean, they're going to be forcing now, but this buy is so much worse. This buy is unbelievably bad, but they'll at least have Dirty Boy on the Blaze Storm. They need to convert off that immediately to get some weapons back in their hands.
It's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He's been amazing though so far, but
Crumbled.
he just can't quite land the last blade. Disco wins out. The battle between the two Starmen in this match, and Disco with now 30 in this match as well. Order, can they finish it off here? 13-8.
It's almost poetic that the 30th kill for Disco is going to be on Dirty Boy, and with that, Disco goes even further. I mean, with the Empress available, you just can't even trade him. He'll see you ahead and even get the dink as well. I mean, this will probably be it, but it's 4 versus 1. Mike will try and do his best, but Mike, no chance, no shot. 13-8. Map number 1 going Order's way.
Well, I don't want to say they got pushed to the limit because we know there is a limit, and that is taking the map off them like Honey Badgers did. But still, nevertheless, an absolute decent effort from Iconic to force a 13-8 scoreline, but Order too good. And I think the biggest difference maker, Kevin, was the fact that every single time we saw opening picks go the way, especially through Dirty Boy, every time Order still found the round though.
And that's 8 opening picks as well. 8 first bloods for Duddy, 4 first bloods for
Wow.
Disco. So 8 rounds out of this 21. That's, you know, not quite halfway through, but it's 8 rounds out of 21 is a lot. Duddy gets 8 first bloods. Unreal amount of 5v4s that Iconic can generate for themselves. That's why I said in the first half, it seemed like Iconic had a lot of good starts, but they couldn't quite convert 5v4s into anything further than that, Jake. So with that, though, with map number 1 done, we'll go take a bit of a break, and this series could still be really interesting. Hard to say if this was going to be a 2-0 or if Iconic can force us to a map number 3, but you're going to want to find out. Bind comes up next. That's Iconic's pick, so don't go anywhere. VOT returns right after this. Welcome back to VOT Stage 1 here as we get ready to head into map number 2. It's a pretty awesome start, I'm not going to lie, competitive. I mean, we got towards the end there, started to get a little bit risky for Iconic. They took a bit more. You could see that they were starting to get pressured a bit more, the sweat forming on their faces. 5 and 7 in the first half, I think speaks more towards the closest of the two teams rather than how it finished, which is probably a little bit more indicative of Order's experience, veterancy, and just the fact that they are the best team in the region currently.
Yeah, obviously you give props to Iconic simply because of how good Order actually is. Any other sort of team matchup and you'd be probably speaking more volume to Order's win. But I thought Iconic definitely showed some really good signs on a map that was of course chosen by Order. And I said halfway through that broadcast when things were actually looking a little bit sour for Iconic was that it's probably Bind, and then if they can somehow get to Haven, those would be the two maps that I would actually look at as being quite practical for Iconic to actually do really well on. But still, 13-8 on Icebox, it was looking a little bit shaky for them halfway through. They found a little way to get back into it, but Order, obviously, as you said, they've got that experience and they saw them off.
And I think the defensive side as well, you mentioned that Iconic were a lot better on the defensive side in their previous Icebox matches. Part of what we saw there was starting from that second round loss that Iconic had as well after getting the pistol, that will always kind of ruin your early momentum and your early economy and really give away a few more rounds to Order than Iconic would have been happy with. And from the back of that, Iconic had very few rounds and they had a lot of money in their bank, and I think only the couple of rounds that Duddy actually even had an operator, but the rounds that Duddy did have an operator, I mean, that was that one very clear round. I can't remember which one it was, but it was deep in that first half where he repeatedly got pick after pick after pick while Order were trying to bring numbers back in their favor. Duddy just denied them. That was such an impressively good round from Duddy Boy.
I feel like you could say that for a lot of different rounds from Duddy Boy in that particular match, right? He was very impressive. Not that the rest of his team wasn't either. Obviously, it's always going to be a team effort, but when you've got a player like Duddy Boy finding the majority of those opening picks, as you said, like 8 rounds of 21, that's going to go a long way in keeping you in the match and helping you be in a position where maybe you can find victory where many would probably think there isn't a chance.
Yeah, I mean, this is... We're seeing really genuinely good skill coming through from Iconic to be able to face up against Order. That we have no doubt about. But some of the other factors as well, I mean, we talk about Disco being such an impact player on that particular map. He would have been MVP for sure. You mentioned that partway through, and I'll close it off by saying that I agree. Disco being able to then beat Duddy towards the end as well was, again, poetic to the fact that the best sort of showing from Iconic ended up being shut down by Disco, and then beyond that, Order then have all of that fundamental, have all of the good strats, have all of the capability to make things happen across the map and just play good, structured, high strategy Valorant. And now we head over towards Bind, that pick of Iconic, the map that Meow Meow took, well, Meow Meow nearly took away Haven, so it's not this one, but that who was Honey Badgers actually took away from Order. So I'm sure that Order on their end, they want to make sure that doesn't happen again, but for a team like Iconic, they want to try and repeat the success that another team did.
And the biggest thing, just sort of sussing out some of the statistics from that particular match, 2-7 defensive half for Order. I mean, that's going to be in a nutshell where you've kind of lost the game. 6-6 attacking half, that's not too bad for the most part. Obviously, you expect Order to maybe even do better than that, but it's the 2-7 defensive half. So that's kind of what we're going to look to, I guess, here. And the beauty of it, for all, is that Order will be defending first. So this is where you can already get a bit of a look in. If Iconic are to do well here, you have to just look at the way that Honey Badgers did it, and that was through their attack and Order's lack thereof defense.
And really interesting as well when you sort of look at Iconic and how they shift their roles around. Duddy goes towards the Sage on this. Punda moves off the Viper over towards a Raze, and then Mike moves off the Sentinel over on towards Smokes for the Viper as well. So everyone kind of shifts over by one. It's going to be Texas spending a couple of extra stars to maintain Shower's control.
Ooh, bit of a swinging shot there from
TP
Autumn.
as well.
Yeah, and this is really what you want as well, taking out Ducky Boy. Maple follows up the second. Panic tries to get them back into it, but it's only the one. Able to at least fall back over towards short. Now they can push up over towards A, but there's still players on site for order. Texter, headshot, spike down. Why not take out Punda as well? Well, it wasn't Texter, it was Maple, but nevertheless, it was a team effort from Order. They get the pistol round.
Yeah, I know. This is such a, you know, again, you look at Order's plays here. They decide, okay, what's going to happen is we will explore the extremities of Showers, see if there's players on the other side of that. Indeed, there were. Then they go for a teleported pinch. Players defaulting over towards B, go towards, get long control, move into the teleporter, and they just start smashing players. Caught between two sets of Order offensive, and at that stage, massive player run, just 2 versus 4 or something like that as we head towards the end of that round.
Yeah, and big as well for Order that, getting that pistol round, knowing that Iconic did not go for that anti-eco. They're going to go for the eco once again, as they did for Icebox when they lost out the pistol round in the second half. So only pistols for them, and for Order, they should be able to take this second round 2-0, and then we'll see the Iconic buy in the third round.
Look at Order's movements as well. Play about to head over towards markets. That could be Panic in trouble. Order will just barely miss that shot. So information gained. The fact that Order are on big flanks here. And one more time, Iconic is just caught between a rock and a hard place. There's so many Order players converging on top of them.
A lot of it comes down to, though, being able to peek down market and get that information, like you said. Then you know they're kind of all pinched over towards short. Toxic screen goes up, doesn't matter, spray through it anywhere it's expected, knowing full well that they're going to be in and around that area. I think Order, we're always going to probably take that round regardless, and they do take it pretty comfortably, 2-0. Now we will see Iconic buy into this third round. And as I said, though, before, it was 2-7 was their loss on bind here. You've already now got 2 rounds on the defense. So for Order, and well, I guess more so for Iconic, this is where you really probably need to start getting rounds early on the board.
Judge for Texter as well, so looking to play within smokes. Standard default coming through from Iconic, seeing if there's going to be any sort of aggressive moves from Order. And there might actually be, in fact, yeah, here we go. More players rushing in forward. Duddy's got to make sure he holds his position strong. Strong as Swill. Has 2 players in front of him as both Punda, Iconic. I mean, Swill, they've just kind of won all their duels. The only player that hasn't quite done that is Mike over towards Disco.
Wow.
All they really do here is wait for Order to push on up. And between all the Iconic members playing over towards market, looking just outside of caves near the teleporter, addressing the Showers push, Duddy and Swill back to back as Order just try and get them down. Yeah, they'll just be able to get all those Order guys who are trying to make aggressive plays.
Yeah, and fairly obvious, but to expand on it, you know, you've got those Spectres, you kind of want to be aggressive in that position for Order. You don't want to just sit back of sight and allow Iconic to take sight freely with the rifles. And Iconic were there fully aware of that. Full credit to them. They sat back. They still held around that market area and waited for, you know, Order to push through Showers, for example, push up through short. And with those rifles, they were always going to win those fights. Obviously 2-1. That's the end of the opening 2 rounds. Now we're looking at that even buy. And it looks like it is going to be hooker control already for Iconic, but Texter close with the charge, and he'll put it to good work, taking out Swell. He knows there's another one back of sight, still has 4 bullets in the chamber. That flash is going to be perfect, but Panic wins out anyway. Disco's going to be careful.
Awkward situation that was for Swell to play in, because he knows that Texter wants to swing. He sees the guiding light bird literally stuck on the ceiling, and he's like, what do I do here? He can't turn away. He doesn't want to shoot it. He's trying to see if Texter's going to swing. Nothing happens. He gets blinded and Texter gets the kill. He does get traded, however. Ends up being a 1-for-1 at the end of the day. Judge finds its mark, though, so, you know, you'll get something off the back of it. Or rather, Swirl, I think, just kind of ate dirt straight off the bat. Get the case.
has turned into a bit of a short push though onto A, and this is allowing Order to still have heaven control. They've got players on site, still around showers as well. So while the spike does go down courtesy of the toxic screen, I think Order's still in a pretty decent position to enable this defuse retake.
Panic's tucked away quite nicely. Trailblazer denied as well, so position's fine for now. Iconic got to get the move on in a second though. I mean, they're taking a long time, and finally they'll break through with 2 instant kills, 2 versus 4 now. Last 2 players are kind of just in the open here. I mean, Maple's even stuck inside the smoke for the most part. He's not going to be able to get too much more done, so leaves, tries to save the weapon, and Iconic will get the round on board.
Yeah, really well played. I think at the end that just came down to a utility battle. And while Order still had players in and around the A site, Heaven Showers, for example, still kind of in their control, that toxic screen allowed for easy plant for Iconic, and then they just held over towards short, and really not much the Order could do to dislodge them from that position. 2-2 start. And pretty much the same, actually, as we had over towards Icebox after 4 rounds. So it's similar position. Iconic with full Phantoms, full armor, but for Order, their economy not quite as comfortable.
I haven't gotten a gun round yet. I won't get one just yet. Maple on towards the rifle that he saved though, so that's something they can play off. Just a single hero rifle, working 7 out of 8 over towards the Hunter's Fury as well. 2 ultimates beyond that on his own team. Slow on the ultimate uptake for Iconic. They did lose its first 2 rounds, and well, they lose Duddy Boy as well. Instantly Maple makes that one solo hero rifle work.
Good information at least attained for Swell. They'll have hookah control. A lot of players though, at least for Order, still around that B site. Garden play over now towards Spawn, but actually moving away from B. This could actually be a decent rush for Iconic if they go now. But it seems like while they had some early information, they don't have any as of right now.
Good smoke. Yeah, that's going to actually cause some problems. Iconic have to directly walk on top of that. Disco couldn't get a kill. It's up to Autumn now to go for an attempt. Not going to happen either. These pistols, unfortunately, are just not going to be powerful enough. Tux will rather pick up the rifle, but he's so far away. Gives it back to Maple even.
Well, they don't even have anything to save. They also committed the Hunter's Fury. Maple could save the Phantom here, but already committed so much into this round, and it's only a 1 versus 3. Still a bit of time as well. Makes that a 3K. Gets rid of Swirl. The Viper's low as well, but, well, speaking of the Viper, Mike gets the elimination onto Maple. And all of a sudden, 3 rounds in a row now for Iconic. They take the lead here on Bind.
Iconic do lose 3 members here, so there's a bit of a loss, but they have plenty of money. Panic's actually on 8.3K. Drops over towards a teammate. Makes sure that they're pretty even. Yeah, Maple, 10 HP after copping the 140 from Swirl and Hookah. Or at least get Swirl down, but not too much further from that. They have the 1 player advantage as well. Maple, again, swinging out to get Duddy Boy off the rip when Duddy Boy was over towards Caves. Just unfortunate that the players actually holding towards B weren't going to be able to do too much with pistols. Wouldn't expect them to be able to. And Autumn has to basically get out now. And forced to use the dash.
Bit of utility actually forced to use as well. Punda, unfortunately, falls there to Autumn. That's a big loss for Iconic. Autumn even had a shot there once again for a second, but Duddy Boy with that elevation makes use of it, gets the headshot. It's now 4 versus 4.
Yeah, they'll deny the showstopper. Plant will still come through though, and that's the offensive Cosmic Divide. 2 ultimates burned by Iconic now. Autumn sees a barrel. He can't shoot yet, but the right click's beautiful. Looking for the rifle transfer. Disco on a big boy flank. He'll get 2 kills straight off the rip. 2 versus 4. And Autumn, they'll get this one. Duddy's in a lot of trouble.
Yep, they're going to just absolutely corral him here. Pinged out. There was a flash on the player in lamps, but doesn't matter. Big round win for Order. Committed into the round. Had they lost this one, they would have actually been pretty down and out, I think, economy-wise, and yet they've able to come through with the win. Only losing the 2 players. They got 3 players that walk away with rifles as well. And they stopped that little momentum that Iconic had started to build up. Fortunately for Iconic, set momentum means they have somewhat of a decent economy coming into this 7th round anyway. So both teams should be at full buy coming into this one as we have the timeout.
Come through from the Order side as well, so they just win the single round, go straight into the timeout. They want to discuss where they want to move with their guns, because This is where you want to build into some sort of momentum. Otherwise, you reset your economy and you're back to square one. Back to a bad position. So Operator's still online for Autumn. Did a lot of work with that. Trust me, that shot onto Pundit. I could felt that one for sure. Denies the showstopper. Mid-air headshot. Play Storm for the defensive retake as well. Right click onto Mike. Saw the barrel through the Cosmic Divide. That probably was a mistake from Mike. It was a little bit too far forward. That gave a free shot over towards Autumn. And then all the rest as well when it's only Duddy Boy remaining.
And remembering though, back to Icebox, this is kind of the position we found ourselves in early on, that back and forth. And it was at about this point when then Order went on that run. They won 4 in a row overall in that first half, remember, and they built that lead after that back and forth in the first 4 or 5 rounds. And this is where, for Iconic, that's the mini goal now. Don't allow Order to go out and get 3-4 rounds in a row. Keep it tight, keep it close, especially here on the attack. And then it puts you in a good position to build on that platform you've set going into the second half.
Order missed the shot last time around. He'll get it now. Panic down early means no more smokes. Extra recon's going to cause some problems. They know this player's on ramps. They're getting cleaned up here. Pundit's in a bit of trouble depending on whether they can get away from Autumn, where, okay, Snakebite will do the trick. Autumn had also used the dash. Only the 2 lost, and, you know, that feels bad already, but Pundit doing his best to try and at least bring one.
A little shocked up, though. It brings Pundit down to 66. Yeah, this is a very difficult round to foresee an Iconic win. I think at this point, Order have to put a foot wrong, and I don't sense they're going to do that. 3 on B, 2 on A. Not going to see them push forward through short.
They have to go B. Because at this stage, I mean, they don't have anything to break through the pit. Swirl would have to be alive. Seekers would be perfect this round to play into the pit, but not going to happen. Maple spotted Pundit already. To be fair, that's not a lot of information. They already knew that Pundit was here. With a slow orb, this is the go time. You basically have to go now. You've revealed everybody. The recon sees 2 as well. Autumn for the opening shot into Duddy, and it's probably done from here.
Yeah, it definitely is now. Only Pundit left. Tux with the teleport. And all it does is force Pundit back in to Hookah, and it's Maple with a 3K from the round. 4-3, 2 in a row down for Order. And this is where it can start to get a little bit spicy for Iconic if they allow Order to go on a bit of a run here, as they did on Icebox. And that's basically where the first half was then lost for Iconic. Once they allowed Order to win 4 in a row, they had to play catch-up. Still only a 4-3 scoreline, but at the very least for Order, their defense here on Bind so far has been a lot better than it was in their previous loss against Honey Badgers, where it was only a 2-7 half. So far, they've at least got 4 to their name already.
Just super well played by Order in terms of corralling Iconic to go towards B-side. Autumn being super patient there to see if anybody would walk up with the boom bot, but ends up just burning the dash for nothing. And this walk up now from Disco. He's instantly going to get contacted. Panic is there already. The Panic going to win this, buddy. You do.
Ooh.
Seekers as well.
Oh, that's both.
I got to come on through, and it basically reveals that there probably isn't anybody else around. Like I said, 2 players down now. Duddy's going to wall up over towards CT, and that will be the plant.
Yeah, both players pushing up B long, full, and when that happens, it opens up that B site completely. I don't sense Order's going to commit anything into this round now. Just an unfortunate case where both players just get a little bit aggressive, pushing over towards Fountain, and then, well, when you both die like that, I mean, that's basically site control done, right? The 3 players from A not going to get there in time, and then the wall off as well. Really well played in the end. Good shots from Iconic. 4-4, and more importantly, stops that Order momentum from building. The only downside, of course, 3 players still walk away with rifles. It doesn't really hinder too much of the economy of Order, but they get the round win, and that matters more.
Duddy eventually picks up a gun for free as well, depending on whether Autumn can maybe walk up and deny it. He's looking for exits. There's one player that can get an exit, will be Autumn. I don't think Iconic will walk any further forward. That is going to be kind of the opposite of what we saw 2 rounds ago. So, you know, B is where a lot of the action happens, but not even on the site itself. It's kind of walking up over towards B. Previously, we had Autumn getting the opening shot into Panic, converting further onto another player on B ramps. I think that was actually a teammate of his, but in any case, 2 players down from Iconic instantly over towards B. on the outskirts of B. Now this time, on that last round, Iconic get those first 2 pick. Panic wins his opening duel. Both players down on B means a plant. They commit a lot of ultimates. At that stage, Order are not interested. As they shouldn't be.
They made the right call, of course, to just back off their safe rifles. Their economy's looking pretty good. The question is now for Iconic, that kind of round where you take the 2 players B long, it's not going to happen often, right? You can't rely on that. You've got to find another way to break through here in the remaining rounds of this opening half.
Like, I think it's got to put the fear into Order a little bit that you can't just simply walk down B every single time and get success, because they've done that a few times. See if you have to kind of punish him for it. More utility being thrown over towards the B side of things. I mean, this is going to force a lot of stars out from Texter, and he's, I believe, just down to the 1 star now, defensively. No more shocks available from Maple as well, so both teams have spent quite a decent amount of util.
Mike's still lurking over towards short, but I don't think we've really seen much of Order pushing through short, in through market, usually going through teleporter instead, if they're going to have anyone from A. And I think with all of that utility and time committed over towards B, they are going to actually now push up through short. But Autumn is there, waiting and watching. He takes out Dutty Boy. Dutty Boy's been a little bit quieter here on Bind. Maple down with the Hunter's Fury. Autumn got Mike too.
30 seconds
Unfortunately for Iconic, this rotation over towards A has not proved to be fruitful.
Texter. He has the footsteps. That'll be a free kill. Panic had a knife out, but to be fair, Panic had no idea he was about to be killed. This is Swill opening up on towards B, saying, come rotate this way. But Tex was already in position to prevent any further movements. Yeah, Swill would just attempt to at least get something done, but a flawless coming through. And I actually commented on Icebox, we didn't see a flawless. And this is, I believe, the first flawless of the series as well. Because prior to that, Jake, Iconic had been trading, so even if they lose a round, they at least get somebody. There's no flawlesses to come on through. Here, you have back and forth utility trades over towards B. Eventually, they walk on A. Patience being shown by Auden, because he could have rotated B, stays on A shot, knows that eventually they're going to walk my way, and then gets the opening frag into a secondary plus Hunter's Fury to make sure you can't walk up short. And this is partially because Iconic had no showers control. They're already down on time. They got to go somewhere, and they chose the worst place. Not that they knew, but Autumn knew it was going to be exactly where he's going to find his mark.
Yeah, and obviously for Autumn with the op, he's not going to want to push through market and have 3-4 players in front of him. He holds the right angle. He holds short, making sure that they can't go for that rotation. It worked out perfectly in the end for Order. Saying that, when you look at that flawless round, as you said, it's the first time in this series that we've had it. It's still just a 5-4 scoreline. The scoreboard says it's close. I think the gut feeling says Order are probably on the brink of maybe pulling away here.
Could be another 7-5 finish. I mean, it feels more dominant for Order just because you're in a position now where you have an Iconic that had no response that round. And it wasn't the only round as well. Dotty Boy will not fall prey to anybody coming through from showers. We head back over towards B, and Autumn is all over the map. This is where Autumn takes control. You know, people are commenting, you know, is maybe Autumn not, you know, the impact player anymore? Disco took over Icebox. Previous games as well. Autumn wasn't super on board, but now that he's got Operator on defense, players are walking into his line of sight. Yeah, he's picking up a lot. Tux will be on for one here as well.
It's going to be yet another Order round, unless Panic can maybe find a clutch. Has a little bit of help still at least. 2 versus 3, not impossible. While Dutty Boy was amazing on Icebox, has been a little bit colder here on Bind, ironically. Needs to catch that player in heaven, unfortunately does not do so immediately. Just buy some time. Panic helps out, gets that elimination onto Disco. Another shot missed from Autumn here. Now Tex is pushed up. Where's the trade though from Panic? It's not going to come through. He was still stuck in lamps. Unfortunately, now he's got a lot of work to do.
And the double swing. Texter out from smoke. Autumn coming through from above. And unfortunately, Panic, he's just not going to be able to put his crosshair in the right place no matter what happens. Even if he gets a trade, he dies instantly. So well played, 2 versus 1. And even from a position where Duddy, he's played on top of that wall before on a post plant. Actually survives against Autumn, who misses a shot, I believe due to the fact that he got grab wild, so that played a crucial role. Then Duddy couldn't quite go 1-for-1 from his positioning, so ends up going down, and we're going to see the eco come through. If there is going to be a 7-5 found, the 7 portion of that 5 is definitely on this particular round.
I don't think you'll find any disagreements from myself on that one, Kevin. We did see a thrifty, though, on Icebox from Iconic. They will need it here. Disco down belong. He's got Autumn over his shoulder, and that's the round. Not much else to say from here. It's 7-4. Iconic will be able to, obviously, in the last round, go for that 7-5 half.
He's blinded. He's got shocks in his face. The fact that Iconic actually even get one here is crazy, and this is what I'm talking about. That's why we don't normally see these two teams playing. There's no flawlesses coming on through. Because even in a round like that, where Order get a huge cleanup, Iconic have nothing to play with in terms of weaponry. They still find a frag on a Dexter. It's only a token gesture, though, because there's so much money floating around the Order economy now. It makes no difference. Autumn's won on 9k. He's got full weaponry plus an operator. He's maxed out on cash. So this is the important round, though. Iconic, if they're looking for that 5, finish 5-7 again, they need to win this round now. They have the showstopper. They got to make sure they don't have that just taken away by Order.
Showstopper immediately from Panda, but he is not going to hit the mark. Does get showers controlled, though. At minimum, you get something from it. You can throw out that boombot, get a little bit more information over towards Tetris. Never mind. That might just be the round once again. It is over. Order. The pressure. It is palpable. Iconic, unfortunately, have walked into a brick wall.
You kind of just throw in the showstopper there. Order respond by putting up all their smokes, including the toxin screen, and look at it from Punda's POV. He has no idea where anybody is. Gets a little bit concerned. Throws it behind the smoke barrier, and nothing's going to be there. This could be a flawless. I mean, you say we don't get a lot of flawlesses, but not looking great for Mike.
Oh. We've only had the one so far in this series, and yeah, it's going to be a second. 8-4 half in favor of Order on the defense here of Bind.
Switching sides.
Obviously, not as successful as the first half on Icebox, Kevin, but still Iconic and not out of it just yet.
Such a well-played later part of that first half from Order. I mean, once we got past the Iconic 3 in a row there, the last, how many is that? 7 rounds? 1 in 7 between Iconic and Order, and expertly played rounds as well by Order to make sure that they stopped anything that Iconic wanted to do. You look at that from Iconic's POV, and it feels like you're being shut down everywhere on the map. That's suffocation.
And it's basically what happened on Icebox as well, right? Remember that 4 rounds in a row from Order in that first half, and then Iconic were playing catch-up? Well, they're in a similar position again. This pistol round is so important for Iconic here. And it's going to be the rush through short for Order. Mike does get the opening elimination, at least heal up for Punda through getting out of that decay. And Mike now still holding over towards Lamps. A control, not awful, but not amazing either. In fact, Order have done pretty decent to get over towards Tetris. Punda, though, takes out Tux. This should, and I repeat, should be around for Iconic, but it's never over when Order is in the server.
Yeah, they have to take control of Lamps, though. Mike's gone for another fragger. There's been so many of these classic right-click kills. And with that, 4 players surviving. So 2 players, by the way, 2 kills immediately from Iconic. Right-click classics through smokes for a 5 versus 3, and it doesn't end. Punda goes for, not Punda, Mike goes for an extra. And so now they get to pick up a couple of ghosts, to which I'm like, really, the classics were better, but who cares? Yeah, they'll buy up some SMGs, a rifle for Mike straight away after getting up. How many kills? 3 in that particular round? Did he get the defuse as well? I'm not too sure. But a couple players now working towards ultimates.
They did.
So 2
the
in,
question
2 in
now
a defuse.
Is, do Order go for the force buy here, as they did over on Icebox, or do they just play into the pistols? It's looking like it might be pistols.
I think they don't have to. I mean, they shouldn't feel pressured to. And actually doing so incurs a pretty huge risk. So they do it early on for Icebox when it's pretty unclear what's going to happen in that half. But you do it here, you're going to be giving away a lot of rounds potentially as Mike's starting to farm up now. I mean, how many vulnerable players are going to try and walk through the snake bite? They're all just walking to utility here. It's a utility fest coming through from Iconic and Order into the meat grinder.
Maple has been able to sneak up through A short, but Duddy Boy's watching anyway. I don't think he's going to be able to get much further. It's seemingly not likely from here. The question is, can Iconic maybe find their first flawless of the series now? Suddenly, Kevin, we've gone from none to maybe 3 in about 4 rounds.
I mean, Maple is, like you sort of said here, in a really interesting position where not been spotted No one's going to walk up and do it either, so he's eventually just going to walk into the opening
There it
and
is!
have panic. Absolutely wreck him. So, to be fair, that was an anti-eco, so it's not as impressive as our gun round flawlesses. However, in terms of economy, getting an anti-eco flawless is very high value.
I think also just the value of winning multiple rounds in a row. You get 2 in a row, get that scoreboard ticking up. It's now 6-8. It's suddenly not as daunting. Like when you look up and you look at that scoreboard number, you know, 8-4, you feel like maybe you're a little bit ways back, but now it's all of a sudden 8-6. You're back in it. Yes, obviously, order buy up here into the 3rd round of the second half. Iconic though, that is a very aggressive toxic screen, and they will push out through Hookah, and they are looking for control. They get a lot of damage onto Order. Maple sticks around a little bit longer, but this is at least putting pressure onto Order. We haven't seen a whole lot of this defensively from Iconic.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to what Order did on their own defense on that anti-eco, right? They started walking down, but they also failed in that regard and walked into their deaths here. At least Iconic haven't died yet. They wanted to challenge. They're going to challenge again, actually. Look over towards the B-long side of things. It's a 1-for-1 trade, which actually favors the defense in a way because of weaponry being taken off the board.
Right there.
4 versus 4. Spike going to be heading up B-long. No players watching though.
Good shot.
Over towards Garden. Mike, yeah, nice shot. Gets the headshot onto Autumn. Further though confirms this is going to be a B plant. And honestly, I know they're down a player, but no one on B site, no one over towards spawn. Elbow completely in control of Order. They've got B long. They just don't have the numbers.
Man, I'm not too sure about this wall play. They should have allowed Tux to walk up and take the 50-50.
This is bad.
No, Dotty boys.
I mean, all they've only got Hooker. They're basically like attackers trying to push onto site here, and Plant's already down. This is very winnable now for Order.
Yeah, Tux won't have the entry shot though. Swinging past his Plunder. Tux will at least convert over towards Mike. 2 versus 2 situation. Texter from CT will find value in Duddy. Only the Spectre. He's found good kills on the Spectre before, but now the range advantage from these two Order fellas is going to be too much to deal with. Oh, and he's got util out.
Timing. The timing. I mean, speaking of timing, he didn't have much more time anyway. Order take the round. Oh, that's got to hurt for Iconic.
I think what it was is Iconic believed there was more than one person walking up B ramp, and they didn't realize it was a solo player. Because if they believe it was a solo player in Tux, they would have left the wall down. They had the crossfire set up between the exit of the teleporter on ramp and also inside Hookah. And with that, it's a guaranteed 1-for-1, if not just a free kill on Tux into a rifle collected. So, missed opportunity there, but they got a little bit scared that it could have been more than one player. But even if it was, I think you do want to take the risk there. So, a little bit confusing for me.
Yeah. In chess, they call it a blunder. I think in this instance, it may be the first real blunder of this series. Both teams have been playing at a pretty high level.
There's been more blunders, but, some of them more subtle.
Yeah, the little ones, we don't count the little ones, that's fine. Not everyone's perfect. But unfortunately, Kevin, you kind of need to be perfect if you're going to beat Order.
This Order, more than not, will play closer to perfection. As an all-important gun round for potentially now Order to make double digits. Iconic doing their best to prevent that. Showstopper available. Might actually end up using that one if you see Order come through from Hookah, but they won't because I don't think they have the right util for this. They don't have any Seekers, no counter pit, nothing yet. So playing into pit seems like a mistake. They are going to maybe make a TP play. You see 2 players over towards long with the spike. It's possible that they might want to draw attention on A and force rotators off, but the way this is looking, they have A control. Yeah, these 2 players should just TP.
Well, Disco does go down. In saying that, Iconic's 2 players on B still have not moved. Punda gets through to Tux, so they very much wanted to go for the push in onto B, hoping Iconic would rotate over to A off the 3-man push, but Swell, well, if they were able to sneak up last time in the last round, Kevin, it was not going to happen again. Not back-to-back. Flawless from Iconic.
I've seen Order try and do this before, and also failed versus Honey Badgers, probably for a different reason, but what I'll say here is, the reason I'm not a fan of that play is, at best, you're probably going to get a 2-man post plant on B with players coming in pretty quickly, you're beyond that. And or you get more than a two-man post on B because your players on A succeeded, but then it's like you could have just gone A anyway. I don't know, it feels like a win more situation, but if you lose your players on A, which you're likely to do because they're going pretty hard and fast, I don't know that you can win a post plant with just two members on B like that. I don't know, it seems like a very high risk and low reward scenario for Order.
Opening kill goes the way of Panic. Iconic, are they slowly building some momentum here? Swell feeling the pressure, gives up elbow position. Whatever, on site, they are down a player, they make it two. Panic's got a second. You just feel that momentum starting to swing the way of Iconic. Plant down, but for Order, obviously, pistols into the round, meaning that they're not going to be able to really fire much of a shot back the other way.
Oh, that grab wall just ruins the boom bot. So many players when they get past, and you know, Maple's got to make them pay at least a little bit here. The fact that Duddy Boy came through the teleporter means they have hookah control and they can just have this multi-angle approach. With the rifles, they slowly clear the corners and just make sure they don't get caught out too much by hiding right-clicking pistols. And that'll be enough Swell to pick up that defuse to get closer towards the Seekers. We'll close the gap to 1.
9-8 scoreline. Yeah, and it's 4 of the last 5 rounds now in favor of Iconic, so no surprise, Dick Stacey's going to be calling a timeout for Order. And this is where now you've got that momentum, and obviously Order want to try and deny that. You take the pause, try and just cool things off a little bit. Job's not done though. Need to make sure that they get that into their head for Iconic, that they've still got a lot of work to do, because you said it before, Order's going to be the team that plays closer to perfection most of the times, obviously in this region. So you need to continue to play at this very high level if you're going to be able to close out here on Bind. And Order's not going to fall away easily here towards the back end of this second half. Out of this timeout, they need to keep the same level of intensity to close out this map.
And timeout for Order as well, where they have to kind of figure out this half a little bit. And this is kind of where the Honey Badgers Order bind went in terms of it being a relatively close competitive first half. Here, it's definitely more Order favored when you consider the 8-4 scoreline. It was 6-6 versus Honey Badger in the first half. And then Honey Badgers took the momentum on the second half and ran away with it. Here, already Iconic has taken the momentum and beginning to run away with it. They will very much pick up pace if Order drop this gun round, have no money, which they won't if they do lose here. Autumn will have a Blade Storm in the next, but it's still not great. They're coming up towards ultimates, and they'd love to get a few more ultimates online in this round right now to be able to force a victory.
This might be a B-long rush for Order.
Swell
going for the flash. Autumn does get the opening pick. I think Swell's in some trouble here. Never mind. Does at least get one for his troubles. Speaking of trouble, Iconic being down a player, they will be in a position where to force a rotation, but then Order take the teleport. It's a difficult one here, and they are not sure how they want to commit to this one. Showstopper is your answer. Tux gets the win against Duddy Boy. That is massive on the A side, and actually pops the pit. They've gone for the teleporter. They're going for A. In a 2 versus 4, Order looking to go up 10-8.
Yeah, to me, it's a double site play because you have a situation where you dodge the Showstopper coming through from Punda by hitting the teleport, and then on top of that, you have the win coming through from Tux, where that will secure you, A. If Tux loses that battle, you have A. You can still go towards A, but the pit's not going to be there. You have no control there because, I mean, Duddy's still going to be around. And A is not in your favor, so you've just lost a lot of time. So 2 things needed to happen. You have to really make sure that you're confident that A is going to work out for you. And if you don't leave as well, you're going to be playing to the Showstopper. So with all of that taken into account, it ends up being a perfect line of play for Order, but only because of very specific circumstances needing to happen.
Not even taking into account, really, if Duddy Boy wins that, then he can rotate off of A, bring it back to 3v3 on site for B. Suddenly then means it's a bit more of a winnable situation for Iconic, but big plays from the big man. 10-8 scoreline now for Order. They edge a bit closer to taking out this second map. Of course, they took Icebox. Maple takes the opening pick of Mike. 5-4. Once again, just like the round prior.
Texas already up. That poison cloud over onto the entrance of lamps as well. So annoying to deal with from the defender's POV. That's exactly what allowed Tux to even push up and lurk in the first place. Dexter doesn't now, he'll get punished for it. Good plays from Punda and Duddy Boy to get those 2 kills, especially Punda onto Autumn and Showers. It's going to give them plentiful control now if they get into a retake situation.
I want to get onto that A site, but it's Duddy Boy who continues to find those kills. Maple from Lamps at least brings it back from 2-4 to 2-3. Only 35 seconds remaining left in the round. Time management has been amazing from both teams in this series. And once again, that spike will go down, but more so towards the later portion of this round. So it's a 3-2 retake now for Iconic. And it looks as if they're not even going to bother from Showers. 3 up short is going to be the play.
The side swap is really interesting as well because Tux made his way in towards Heaven and now Spike is planted for him. Maple staying alive here is going to be super important. Tux can be smoked down and util down, especially due to the fact that there is a Cosmic Divide as well. They know where Tux is and Maple now, but it's only Panic alive. He's going to have to pull through a 1 versus 2. It's a good wall, but time is just not on his side.
No, doesn't have the information. Tux was pushing up from Heaven, knowing he could actually get onto the backside of that wall and get the diffuser. 11-8.
Man.
Order just pulling away, Avril, when it matters most. When these rounds are close and tense, they just have that little extra gear that they can go to win these 50-50s, to win rounds where they're down. It was a 2 versus 4 in favor of Iconic.
How smart is that play from Order, though? They know they have complete zero control on Showers. They've had players die there already. Short at this stage might as well be dirty as well. So they say, cut our losses. We're going to swap sides entirely. We are going to play the defensive side now and see what happens. And what happens works out entirely in their favor. Is this time Iconic, they take risks. They need to be able to take a round away. They want to stop this 12 from coming through from Order. So it is going to be the Iconic walk down. They'll only get the 1 off it, but it's instantly traded.
Mike has to go big here. Never mind. Timing is everything. Walled off, be long. That rifle is still, I think, was available maybe, but Maple just seriously gets another one. Swirl just gets caught napping. Maple able to look over the wall. Dutty Boy expecting maybe for him to continue to be aggressive, but no, they've done the damage over towards B long. They can rotate over towards A site. They got the toxic screen down there as well. I mean, this should be a 12th round for Order.
That's been 4 kills on B long, considering the fact that there was also a res in play as well. You got the res, but numbers still not really helping you. Mike has to do it all here. And Fulvus in this exact same situation when Honey Badgers played up against Order, got 3 kills as the Viper, sitting behind this poison cloud. Mike's up, and he swings and misses.
Yeah. He hit that first shot, and then maybe in that 2v2 scenario, he can buy some time for Duddy Boy, but no. First shot misses the mark, and unfortunately for Duddy Boy, he walks straight into the sightlines of Tux as well. It's 12-8, and it is series point now for Order. 1 round away from the grand final. By far and away the better team, Kevin, but we do have to give some plaudits to Iconic. They have been in this series. They have been in this matchup. It is shaping up to be, though, 13-8 into 13-8.
I mean, you just look at the fact that you lose 4 out of the first 5 rounds, take a timeout, talk over what's going wrong, and then the next 3 are brilliant, including some very smartly played rounds. It's just intelligent stuff coming through from Order. And Iconic are getting desperate. I mean, you see them taking risks there. That particular one wasn't necessarily a big risk, but I guess Mike just didn't realize there were going to be so many players. He wanted the Viper's Pit. He'll have it, but he'll probably not have a chance to use it because 13 is nearly on board. And Order are on their way through to B. Swirl's hiding.
It's been a commendable effort, but an effort that is going to fall short of a result for Iconic. Dutty Boy was amazing on Icebox. Not awful here either on Bind. It was a great player for Iconic, but Order, in the end, they just flexed their muscles towards the back end of Bind. Autumn has an easy one, why not? And has information on the last one, why not get it yourself? It's a 4K to close it out. Order through to the grand final. 13-8 on Icebox, 13-8 on Bind. Far too good in the end for Iconic.
Yeah, it's a good effort coming through from the Iconic side, but you're going up against Order at the end of the day, and Order are far too clean at the moment. Even when you think you got a lead on them, even when you string together multiple rounds, even when things look really competitive and Duddy's going off on Icebox, you have to be able to finish off a map versus Order, and Order always have the capability of either A, making a comeback, or just making plays happen that will give them rounds to secure their lead if they are already in the lead. So it's a tough team to beat when they're ahead of you, and a tough team to beat when you're ahead of them as well. It feels like it's just no way.
Just a tough team in general. That's really one way to summarize it. I think for Iconic, though, it's still... Well, the result's not there. I think the effort and the in-game performances were pretty decent on both maps. They had actually opportunities on both maps. You know, you think back to Icebox, there was a couple of rounds where they started to win a few in a row, bring it back to an even scoreline. Order then won out the last couple and you know, stretched that lead, winning the map. And then almost in deja vu circumstances, the same has kind of eventuated here on Bind. It was a 9-8 scoreline, you know, Kevin, towards the end. And that's when that timeout was then called for Order to then, from that timeout, win 4 in a row to close out the map. Really just sort of highlights the difference between the two teams. I called for maybe Iconic to keep up that intensity going into the last few rounds. And while they can do that, Order then have an extra gear, an extra level they can go to, and they were just clean towards the back end of Bind.
Yeah, and Auto clean, generally speaking. I mean, they did lose some rounds in there, and, you know, I called them out for one play that I'm not particularly a big fan of, but, you know, at the end of the day, they believe it to be good. It hasn't worked for them yet, but it doesn't really matter. They got the overall series locked down, and multiple other plays they had in the strat book were brilliant to watch, and Grand Finals now locked in. First team to lock in Grand Finals. You'd expect it to be Order. 66% of the audience expected to be Order. We did as well. And lo and behold, it will be Order in 2-0 fashion as well. So, not going to go to a third map. Iconic, don't force it in that direction. And at this stage, I mean, no one clearer as a favorite for taking away the championship. And I think that's been clear from day one as it is now to the present day.
Yeah, and just quickly as well, before we eventually get to our interview, I feel like for Iconic, I would have really liked to see them on Haven against Order and get to that third map. I think in some ways, do you say they deserved a third map? It's hard to say. 13-8, 13-8. It's not as if they got to double digits, for example, but I still would have really liked to see it. Maybe we will in a grand final. Of course, they're not out of it. To reiterate, they just fall to the lower bracket final now, where they await the result, Fun Crew and Bonkers. So that will be happening, of course, tomorrow. So they will be playing tomorrow for Iconic, whereas now Order gets a day off. And that in itself is quite a significant achievement, that you get to just sit back tomorrow, watch the games, get some free VOD footage, and then come play on Sunday.
Yeah, I get to see all your possible competitors at this stage as well. I mean, I'm not too sure what else Order really have to worry about. I mean, I suppose one of Fun Crew and Bonkers could still really pose a problem, but Iconic had been on such a tear, and Iconic had already beaten those two teams. So I think one of the things about Order so far is their journey through this playoffs bracket has been probably more straightforward. I don't want to use the word easier, but they had to play Meow Meow Honey Badge, whereas Iconic had to play Fun Crew Bonkers, right? Iconic's journey has certainly been more difficult. So if Iconic make their way back into the grand finals, they've definitely had to play against way more difficult teams to do so.
Well, a part of that is, of course, the group stage. I mean, CDX Order obviously topping their group. Iconic only finishing third. Do have to remember, of course, for Fun Crew, they went 0-3 in the group stage, Kevin, right? So obviously, we know they're a talented team, and you're not going to take too much away from just the group stage alone. They've shown that here, of course, in their lower bracket run. But for Iconic, yeah, I do agree. They've had the tougher run getting into this Order matchup, and I think that they played well into it. Yeah, Honey Badgers took the map of Bind off of Order. That was certainly surprising. But I still think 13-8, 13-8 over the course of the series was a pretty decent scoreline for Iconic.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that bracket now, as we've been kind of referencing it this entire time. Confirmed. Order Grand Finals, Iconic Lower Finals, Fun Crew Bonkers to play to see who will get to play up against Iconic in what will end up being, I would say, a pretty exciting rematch. And who then gets to play up against Order. Order have not played against Fun Crew or Bonkers in the playoffs yet. And as much as we kind of talk about group stage a little bit, I think right now, especially when you look at Fun Crew, that 0-3 is no longer at all indicative of their performance as a team at all. Fun Crew right now are a team that might as well have been, if it wasn't for the fact that I think they were also in Order's group, they would have been 3-0 in the opposite group, right? That's what they, in terms of strength, look like to me. So the last three teams in that lower bracket, super competitive. It's hard to call who out of those three is going to come through, because I think all three have great storylines and sort of great showings to all have a shot at the crown. And you know, they're going to have to... I'm glad that they have to go through this kind of three-way battle to get there, because we need to see the best team emerge to take on Order in that final.
Yeah, and obviously you'd maybe look at the bracket itself and see the fact that Iconic beat Bonkers 2-0, but I don't know if you could take that and say, oh, that's 100% going to happen again. In fact, I would probably say that would be unlikely. If that rematch were to happen in the lower bracket final, I would be fully expecting Bonkers to do well, maybe even go on and win it. Then obviously Iconic versus Fun Crew, that was a 2-1, and that was close, right? 13-11, 13-8, 13-8. So that was a close affair. So in terms of who wins between Fun Crew and Bonkers, which I got absolutely no idea, to be completely honest, I think either team could win it. You can then say the same for the lower bracket final. So that adds to the excitement for tomorrow. Both matchups are hopefully going to be very close.
Well, we'll have to wait till tomorrow to see what happens here because we have all the lower bracket games still ahead of us. Upper bracket is done now, only grand finals and those 2 games left to play through. 2 more days of VOT still remaining. Jake, you're not going anywhere, though. You're still here for the pre-show, and you're casting with me tomorrow. So, guys, lock it in. We'll be here, same time. It's a short day today, but tomorrow is going to be a banger. We're going to start at 1 p.m. as well, so that we make sure that we have plenty of time to get through back-to-back BO3s. We'll see you then, fellas.
Payne picks up 1, 2, 3. Beautiful stuff here coming out from Payne.
They'll know exactly that there's a player you're potentially trying to come up with a speed play. No, oh my god!
The Viper's pit does get pulled on out. Clutchy dispatches of Easy, and there's another entry point.
Even with all the Viper units still down here from RDW, Bunda!
They do gather the information, and Myth has actually moved around onto the other side of this poison cloud. It's great on the hole. Another picked up by Myth. A third! A